Chapter 576. But he's just a little more talented. Isn't his background just as bad? Do you really think I care about his background? Equal social status? Or do you care? I don't care, that's it. Moreover, no matter what his background is, his talent has covered all his flaws. The only shortcoming is that he has a lot of cultivation partners. Sister, you have to be more careful. Men like women who are obedient, gentle, and considerate. I won't ask you to change, but at least treat him a little better. That way, you'll be more competitive. Brother Chin is really good. I hit it off with him at first sight, and you also fell in love with him at first sight. How is that possible? I just hit it off with him at first sight. Long Ting retorted with a slightly red face, but her heart was sweating profusely. Obedient, gentle, and considerate? It didn't seem to have anything to do with her Look, a certain someone was still like a dead pig, unable to move after being tortured by him. She even suffered a life worse than death for a full 6 days. From the looks of it, if she could move now, she would probably start a war with him. There's no such thing as hitting it off with a woman at first sight. Has Brother Chin come up? No, he's still meditating. Brother, I'm going to the cultivation room to meditate. Go on. Long Yi said with a smile, his heart finally calming down. Which, looks like I have to spend less time alone with her in the future. Fortunately, I didn't make a big mistake this time. The signal from the second world will disappear in 14 days. I'd better enter the second world and focus on cultivation. Hiss. Chen Hao's figure appeared in the second world directly, turning into the extremely ugly Chen Ritian. Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, and Xia Yu had been doing missions for some time and hadn't logged into the second world for a long time. Occasionally, they would come up and only send messages to report that they were safe. Now, the sisters had just chosen a first-rate sect on the Yang planet under the guidance of Heavenly Lord Yuanru. During this time, they were also busy with the newcomer missions and didn't log into the second world. It's been a long time since I went to the arena. Anyway, I can't change my identity in such a short time. I'll go to the arena to play, challenge more opponents, and meditate. There must be a lot of people cursing me during this time, right? Chen Hao thought of his identity as Chen Ritian and how popular he was in the arena, and a smug smile appeared on his extremely ugly face. DDD, 3000? Requesting to be the arena champion, Chen Ritian? What? Chen Ritian? That ugly boy is finally here? That's right. I've already spoken to the arena master. Hurry up and send a message to those guys who booked the notice. Motherfucker, how many times do we get asked every day? They're seriously doubting our professionalism. Alright. I'll send a message now. Alright, should we take the initiative to give this ugly boy a bonus? He hasn't applied for it, but the number of people watching each time is no less than a celebrity. If we take the initiative to give him a bonus, he might come more often in order to earn money. That way, our arena will definitely earn more. That makes sense. That's a good idea. Let's do it. We'll give him the same bonus as ordinary celebrities. You don't have to inform him. When the time comes to settle the bill, just explain it to him. That way, he'll be even more surprised. Who knows, Mood 1 might come every day in the future. The two old men in charge of managing the arena were so excited when they heard that Chen Ritian had applied to be the arena's champion. They took the initiative to share the profits. This was a rare situation. DDD. Your application to be the champion of the arena has been approved. Arena 250 will be handed over very soon. Please get ready. Arena 250? This number. Chen Hao shook his ugly head and walked directly to Arena 250. What an ugly guy. Could this be the famous Chen Ritian from a while ago? Chen Ritian. It's him. I've seen his image before. DDD. At the same time, at least 1,000 cultivators who had specially gone to the arena to spend celestial origin crystals to order a reminder service for Chen Ritian's appearance received the message from the arena. Hence, they hurriedly put down what they were doing and rushed to the arena. DDD. Brother Long, didn't I tell you last time that there's a guy called Chen Ritian? Why did he appear? After calming down, Long Yi, who was about to enter the cultivation room, suddenly received a communication request from Nie Xiaofeng. Nie Xiaofeng had mentioned Chen Ritian a long time ago. He said that Chen Ritian's fighting style was shockingly similar to Chen Hao's when he won 10,000 battles in a row. They both suppressed their strength to a certain extent. No matter who the opponent was, they would fight to their heart's content. More importantly, his fighting talent and skills were extremely powerful. They were not inferior to Chen Hao's. If it were not for the fact that their appearances and aura were worlds apart, and the arena's information proved that they were real, they would have been mistaken for Chen Hao. I just received the news. This guy has just arrived at the arena. I have a feeling that this guy is related to Chen Hao. His name is Chen Ritian. Interesting, isn't it? The combination of Ritian and Ritian is Hao. But this is just a joke. The arena's information can't be fake. Chen Hao's 10,000 victories won't disappear. However, there's a possibility that Chen Ritian and Chen Hao's unique skill are of the same origin. Brother Long, do you want to come and take a look? All right. Long Yi frowned. Unlike Nie Xiaofeng, he had a clearer understanding of the arena. In fact, when Nie Xiaofeng mentioned Chen Ritian the last time, he had a feeling that Chen Ritian might really be Chen Hao. The reason was simple. Chen Hao had also triggered the hidden condition of the arena and completed 10,000 victories. How could there be no reward? What was the reward? Of course, he was not sure at that time. He could only make a final judgment when he saw Chen Ritian's fighting style with his own eyes. Unfortunately, when Nie Xiaofeng told him, Chen Ritian had already completed 1,000 victories. After that, he did not appear again. Now that Chen Ritian had suddenly appeared after disappearing for a long time, Long Yi wanted to take a look even more. Otherwise, was it really a coincidence that his sister and Chen Hao had just entered the second world and Chen Hao had just replied to his call? Sister, come out for a while. Long Yi wanted to rush over immediately. However, when he was about to inform his sister, he suddenly thought of something and directly knocked on the door of his sister's cultivation room. Brother, what's the matter? I just fell asleep. After waiting for a few minutes, Long Ting opened the door of the cultivation room and said sleepily with her eyes closed. She was obviously unhappy that Long Yi had disturbed her sleep. However, Long Yi seemed to be used to it and said, Sister, do you want to come to the arena with me to play? What's so fun about the arena? I'm such a low-key person. I don't want to show my face. You're really not going? Then you might regret it. Long Yi smiled and said mysteriously, Regret? Something good happened? I'm not sure, but it's very possible. After I see it, I can basically confirm that. Brother Chen might be fighting in the arena. Are you going or not? Is that so? Alright, I'll go and take a look. I haven't seen him fight yet. Long Ting's eyes were no longer closed, but she did not want to show too much emotion, so she pretended to be calm and said calmly, Let's go then. It's so hard to choose. I can't believe that after a few months, my reputation has increased. It's only been a minute and there are more than 1,000 people challenging me? Their strength is not bad. These people have fought before and they still want to come? These people have applied many times. This time, the wager has been raised to 1,000. I'll choose this one. Beep, beep, beep. It's me. Chen Ritian chose me. My hard work pays off. Don't be jealous. I've applied 136 times. Boom. A cultivator said to his friend beside him. As he spoke, his aura suddenly surged and he rushed towards the arena. Brother Chen, please take care of me. Well said, well said. Brother, please. The ugly Chen Ritian smiled. Even though he looked uglier than if he were crying, he still felt good about himself even though he did not look like an expert at all. He made a gesture to invite them to go ahead. Swoosh. Swoosh. It was also at this moment that the number of cultivators who were watching decreased by more than 1,000. Basically, everyone who knew ugly brother Chen Ritian chose to enter the arena to experience it for themselves. However, it was different this time. The wager had been raised to 5 celestial core crystals. This was the wager that only famous people could afford to watch the battle. However, when the crowd received the notification, they did not even frown and entered the arena. Famous people? Famous people were nothing. Only the experts who were suitable for themselves would benefit them the most. Without a doubt, the thousands of people who were waiting to fight with Chen Ritian all thought that their strength was on par with Chen Ritian's. More importantly, famous people would not go from shallow to deep. They were like sparring partners who would allow their opponents to unleash their full potential. Every battle would take more than 10 minutes or even longer. How could they not know which one was more worthwhile to watch? Just as Chen Hao started his first battle, about 5 minutes later, two figures appeared at the back of the crowd. Wherever they passed, many people exclaimed. These two people were Long Yi, the top fighter of the human celestial stage in the arena, and Long Ting, who was not famous in the arena. This commotion was like a whirlwind. Other than the cultivators who were fully immersed in watching the battle, everyone could not help but look at the source of the commotion. Chapter 577. Long, are you kidding me? Brother Cho has attracted Long Yi's attention? Who's the beauty next to Long Yi? She's so pretty. She must be Long Yi's cultivation partner, right? Are you an idiot? Since when have you heard of Long Yi having a cultivation partner? That's Long Yi's sister, Long Ting. Long Ting. Phew. I don't think she's ever been to the arena. Why is she here today? Brother Long. Nie Xiaofeng and Yun Zhongjian widened their eyes in shock when they saw the Long siblings. Of course, they were shocked to see Long Ting, the legendary #1 beauty of Xiantian City, the most terrifying witch, had come to the arena. This was unbelievable. More importantly, they did not dare to look Long Ting in the eyes when they saw her. They were stuttering when they greeted her. It was as if they were excited, but more like they were afraid. Who in Xiantian City did not know Long Ting? Even though Long Ting had never participated in the test of the Second World Alliance and had never earned any fame in the arena, her reputation in Xiantian City was no less than her brother Long Yi's. Was the challenge maniac Tianjin awesome? He could only suck up to Long Ting with his tail between his legs. Was the genius disciple from the So-and-so family awesome? Pursuing Long Ting, yet being beaten into a pighead that even his own mother couldn't recognize. There were many such violent incidents, to the extent that there was a common rule among the young genius disciples of Profound Heaven City, and that was to offend anyone but Long Ting of the Long family. Otherwise, one could just wait to become one of the members of the violent incidents that people took delight in talking about. It could be said that Long Ting was the goddess in many young men's hearts, but she was also the devil in their hearts. He's the ugly one in the arena. Our cultivation level is not high enough, or else we would have challenged him. However, there are too many people who have challenged him. Some of them have challenged him 100 to 200 times and still haven't gotten their turn. He's very popular. Is that so? Indeed. Long Yi stared at the battle in the arena. He did not doubt Nie Xiaofeng and Yun Zhongjian's judgment. Big brother, where is Chen Hao? Long Ting spread out her perception, but couldn't sense Chen Hao's aura at all. She couldn't help but ask through voice transmission. Let's watch the competition first. Long Yi said deliberately. What's so interesting about the competition? That person is so ugly. It's not his fault that he's so ugly, but it's not right for him to come out and scare people. Brother, do you want me to vomit? Fortunately, I haven't eaten anything yet. She only glanced at the ring and shuddered, speaking her thoughts without mercy. Long Yi didn't know what to say. After a few seconds of silence, he said, That little sister, I'm going in to watch the battle. You should come with me. You can take a closer look at that ugly guy. I heard he's very strong. Oh, right, his name is Chen Hao. Isn't that Chen Hao? Brother, you lied to me. This Long Yi directly transformed into a ray of light. At the same time, his voice drifted into Long Ting's ears. What if I tell you that this ugly bastard might be Chen Hao? He triggered the hidden conditions of the arena. Since you're with him, why don't you test him? Long Ting was dumbfounded. Could this ugly freak be Chen Hao? This is a joke, right? Although Long Ting didn't want to admit it, she had to admit that Chen Hao was the most disgusting person she had ever seen. How could he be related to this ugly freak? However, based on Long Ting's understanding of her brother, he had never lied to her. There was no reason, no courage to lie to her, right? Miss Long, we're going to watch the battle too. Chi. Nie Xiaofeng and Yun Zhongjian stood together with Long Ting. Although it was the second world, they still felt the pressure. Seeing that Long Yi had entered the spectator mode, the two of them didn't dare to stay any longer. If they accidentally said something wrong, wouldn't it be terrible? Therefore, they directly ran away. In the aircraft, Long Ting couldn't help but look back at Chen Hao, who was lying motionless. At this moment, his aura had indeed entered the realm of thoughtless tranquility. A faint light appeared above his head, undoubtedly immersed in the second world. Brother Hao, good brother, what are you doing? Do you want to eat something? Long Ting, who was wearing bright and beautiful soft armor, looked valiant and sexy. With light steps, she walked to the side of Chen Hao, who was lying motionless on the ground. She laid on the side of Chen Hao's head and supported her chin with one hand. Her beautiful face had a kind and ingratiating smile as she spoke. I'm busy. Don't disturb me, Chen Hao said in a bad mood. He didn't even look at Long Ting. Just by feeling, he knew that this girl was right next to his ear. Her breath was like orchids, making his ear itchy. Fuck, seducing, drugging, and now she wants to trick me? When the seal is broken, I must teach this girl a good lesson. With a few words of brother Hao and good brother, she wants to forget the grudge with a smile? Dream on. Brother Hao, are you still angry with me? What are you busy with? Are you fighting in the arena? Chen Hao obviously didn't have the desire to answer Long Ting. He directly ignored her. Long Ting seemed to be silly, but there was a hint of slyness in her smile. She said, I saw you in the arena. Do you think I'm an idiot? Hearing Long Ting's words, Chen Hao thought to himself. See me? That's a dream. I'm indeed in the arena, but it's not something you can see. I'm lying to you. However, I'm playing in the arena. Do you want to come? I know you're listening to me. Let me tell you, I saw an ugly freak. He's really in the arena? Chen Hao thought to himself, but he still didn't answer. Without a doubt, the ugly freak who could make Long Ting directly tell him the news was definitely Chen Ritian. The most hateful thing is that this ugly freak is actually called Chen Ritian. Isn't this insulting, Brother Hao? It's not his fault that he's ugly, but it's his fault that he dares to call himself Chen Ritian. Brother Hao, I'll help you teach him a lesson and make him change his name, okay? But Chen Hao finally couldn't hold it in any longer. He opened his eyes and glared at Long Ting. You must be taught a lesson for daring to call yourself Chen Ritian. You can't be redeemed for breaking my name. However, I'm in the middle of cultivation and can't watch. Help me. If you do well, I won't be angry with you anymore. Are you serious? Of course. Chen Hao said decisively. Come on. If you dare to come up, I'll trample on you. I don't even know who it is that trampled on you. Chen Hao, who had been waiting for the seal to be broken to teach Long Ting a lesson, had coincidentally encountered this opportunity. How could he let it go? He didn't think that Long Ting would be able to guess that Chen Ritian was him. Of course, Chen Hao didn't think too deeply about this problem. He only wanted to vent his anger as soon as possible. Even though it was the second world, there was also one more thing that Chen Hao was very curious about. Just how strong was Long Ting? Alright, I'll beat this ugly guy until he's crying for his dad and mom. He'll beg for death. Long Ting said. He didn't even want to leave. He just lay down beside Chen Hao and didn't move. Is it him or not? Just from the conversation just now, Long Ting was still not completely sure. But at least she trusted her brother a little. We'll find out soon enough. Long Ting thought to herself slyly. Immediately, she disappeared from the second world. She had no choice. She had entered the peak of the later stage of the human celestial stage. If her cultivation didn't match, she wouldn't be qualified to challenge. When she re-entered the second world, Long Ting's aura changed to the peak of the medium stage of the human celestial stage. However, she appeared at a fixed location in the second world, which was the manor that the Long family had bought. So, after this girl appeared, she dashed to the arena again without stopping. A few minutes later, before the ugly guy Chen Ritian's first battle ended, Long Ting came to the arena again. Have you applied for a challenge? Very good. Chen Hao had been waiting. When he was in the aircraft just now, he sensed the change in Long Ting's aura when she entered the second world. Naturally, Chen Hao knew that Long Ting wanted to enter the second world. Now that he had received Long Ting's challenge message from the system, Chen Ritian, who was in the middle of the battle, smiled proudly. If it weren't for the professional ethics that Chen Ritian had established after 1,000 battles, he would have gone crazy and ended the battle early to teach this girl a lesson. If this ugly guy is you, he'll definitely accept my challenge. Don't think that I don't know that you want to teach me a lesson. If not, there's no reason for you to accept my challenge. My battle record is 0. There are so many people who want to challenge me. How can it be my turn? Long Ting laughed foolishly in the crowd. Many of the young cultivators who had been sneaking glances at them time and time again were dumbfounded. Especially when they saw that Long Ting's eyes were fixed on the ugly guy in the arena, they couldn't understand. Could it be that the #1 beauty in Xiantian City admired men like Brother Cho, who had no appearance but had inner qualities? Otherwise, why would she stare at the ugly guy and laugh foolishly? Brother Chen, take my strongest move. After a full 15 minutes of hearty battle, this challenger was intoxicated. His energy and spirit were stimulated to an unprecedented state. There was only one word to describe it. At this moment, he finally understood the restraints that had been trapped for a long time in the battle. His blood was boiling and his battle intent was high. He suddenly shouted and used his strongest move that he had just comprehended. Very good. Unfortunately, you'll still lose. Chen Hao shook his wrist and a sharp sword light appeared. It had the same mysterious aura as his opponent, but it was more perfect and ingenious. Boom! Rumble! In the terrifying explosion of energy, the challenger's eyes were filled with excitement, disbelief, and excitement. However, he did not have the fear, panic, and depression that he should have before his death. He turned into a beam of white light and disappeared from the arena. Chapter 578. Good. Awesome. Brother Cho is awesome. Brother Cho is awesome. Brother Cho. Although you are extremely ugly, but I like you. Be my cultivation companion. Brother Cho, please choose me. I, Zhang San, have applied 180 times. Brother Cho, I, Li Si, have applied for 249 times. I don't want to be 250. Below the arena, cheers, praises, the unrivaled ugly girl's awesome confession, as well as the battle cries of those who wanted to fight but couldn't, etc. This caused Long Ting's eyes to widen as she stared at the incomparably ugly fellow on the arena. She would lose her appetite if she looked at him a few more times. How could he be so popular? How could it be? How could it be? Although the battle just now was not bad, and there was something to be said about it, it also seemed very sloppy and ordinary, right? Was there a need to be so excited? Long Ting was very confused. She felt that the people around the arena were all unreasonable lunatics. Unfortunately, what Long Ting didn't know was that the ugly guy in the arena was strong and weak. In short, he could satisfy everyone's desire to fight and let you fight to your heart's content. This was not something that could be done with a high cultivation level. Otherwise, how could he be so popular? Similarly, Long Ting's horizons and knowledge were basically all at the level of geniuses. Therefore, she didn't feel that ugly person's performance was much. At most, it was just SOS. However, how many of the cultivators around her could compare to her unique conditions? Swish! At this moment, Long Yi, who had entered the arena to watch the fight, automatically bounced out of the arena and appeared beside Long Ting. He said, "Sister, it's very possible. It's very possible that..." Sister, what are you? Before he could finish his sentence, Long Yi suddenly felt that Long Ting's aura had changed to the medium stage of the human celestial stage. He suddenly realized something and asked with his eyes wide open. Just as Long Yi asked in surprise, Long Ting also exclaimed, "Brother, it's him. He wants to teach me a lesson? I want to see who will teach who a lesson." Swish. Before Long Yi could react to what was going on, Long Ting suddenly turned into a stream of light and flew towards the stage. It can't be! Nie Xiaofeng and Yun Zhongjian, who had just arrived beside the two, widened their eyes in surprise and looked at the arena. Brother Long Miss Long, don't ask me. I don't know if she ate the wrong medicine. Long Yi also looked at Chen Ritian in a daze, unable to say anything. He didn't understand how much meaning was contained in his sister's short sentence. In any case, there was a lot of information. One thing was that his younger sister was more certain than him that the ugly guy was Chen Hao. But if you want to teach me a lesson, I'll teach you a lesson. It's not something you can understand. In short, he knew one thing, and that was when he saw his younger sister reveal a devilish smile. He also knew that every time this happened he, as her older brother, had to back off. Long Ting's true strength was indeed inferior to his, but Long Yi knew that no matter if it was the real world or the second world, if Long Ting really wanted to fight him seriously, the one who would lose and be trampled on would definitely be him. This made Long Yi look at the ugly Chen Ritian, or rather, Chen Hao, who had been confirmed by his sister and basically confirmed by himself, with sympathy. Similarly, after they saw Long Ting, this peerless beauty, enter the arena, there were already more and more cultivators around the arena, and they instantly gathered at an even faster speed. Those who were clear about Long Ting's identity and had a certain level of understanding of Long Ting's style were so stunned that their eyeballs almost fell to the ground. All of them notified their good friends at the first possible moment, and in order to show off their status and knowledge, they introduced Long Ting to the people around them and told them who she was and why Brother Cho would agree to a cultivator with a battle record of 0 wins, 0 draws, and 0 losses who only had a bet of 10 celestial origin crystals. In less than half a minute, the atmosphere around the arena had reached an unprecedented level, and it was shocking. Ugly guy. You dare to call yourself Chen Ritian? Do you know your mistake? After Long Ting's name, record, and bet appeared on the screen, Long Ting entered the arena with one hand on her waist and the other pointing at Chen Ritian. The first sentence that came out of her mouth caused an uproar. What did she mean? Was it wrong for her to call herself Chen Ritian? Although this name was a little crazy, yes, it was a little crazy, but there were many more crazy names in the cultivation world, such as Heaven Manipulation, Heaven Destruction, and so on. Chen Hao was so shocked by Long Ting's words that he almost fell to the ground. Damn, this is a public place. Can you not be so arrogant? You're too arrogant. You're the eldest daughter of the Long family, right? However, Chen Hao had to admit that this girl's unruly, domineering, and arrogant appearance seemed to be very cute. She was very straightforward and also very naive. What does it have to do with you what my name is? Of course it has to do with me. Promise to change your name now, otherwise I'll let you know how to write the word pain and what the true meaning of unable to live, unable to die is. Do you believe me? Long Ting said as she pointed at Chen Hao's nose. Below the arena, Long Yi was speechless. What he was certain of was that his mischievous and eccentric little sister had done this on purpose, and under the premise that she knew that ugly person was Chen Hao, she naturally did it on purpose and with a purpose. Swish. Long Yi no longer hesitated and directly chose the viewing mode, disappearing from the spot. Come on then. I'd like to see who will tell who. When Chen Hao saw that Long Ting was so protective of his name, he was angry and amused at the same time. He originally wanted to trample on her, but his anger had been reduced by half. However, he wanted to punish her a little. Well, at least he wanted to see how powerful this girl was without relying on the magical power in her body. Therefore, for the first time in history, Chen Hao made the first move. The brilliant sword light was simple, direct, and sharp, but it contained thousands of mysteries. In an instant, it seemed to have covered all the vital parts of Long Ting's body. There was nowhere to hide, and she could only face it head-on. This lousy sword technique, break it. Long Ting's posture didn't change. She pointed at Chen Hao and simply retracted, extended, and spat out her hand. Whoosh! Chi. A fierce wind suddenly blew, like a hurricane that was going to destroy everything in the world. It whistled and gushed out from Long Ting's slender palm. There was no move, no technique, and no mysteries. There was only absolute power. The power of the wind. The whistling wind, the violent wind, the wind that swept the world and tore the space apart. In an instant, countless cultivators, who wanted to feel the pressure, aura, and mysteries of the battle between the two of them, who were in the middle of the two of them, without any mental preparation, screamed and dodged in horror. Those who could not dodge in time did not even dare to hesitate and directly exited the spectator mode. Most people knew that Long Ting's large-scale attack with pure absolute power was terrifying. Only a few people who knew that Long Ting was more terrifying were not surprised. Rumble. When the sword light and the fierce wind met, the entire arena shook. What made Chen Hao's scalp tingle was that Long Ting this lass was actually so fearsome. It should be known that although he had kept a lot of power in his sword, it also contained thousands of changes and was condensed to the extreme. It could be said that it was invincible. If Long Ting had used the same condensed ultimate technique, he would be able to understand. However, this girl had just casually used a palm strike, and it was a large area attack. There was no condensed technique to speak of. However, his sword light was completely drowned by the continuous wild wind. That was not all. The whistling wild wind actually continued to envelop him without any signs of slowing down. Could it be that this girl can use power that doesn't belong to her in the second world? This thought flashed through Chen Hao's mind. At the same time, the energy around him suddenly gushed out. With a rumble, it was like a rotating cannonball, riding the wind and breaking the waves. Accompanied by continuous terrifying explosions, it broke through the fierce wind and shot toward Long Ting. Humph, close combat? I'll fulfill your wish. Ding. Long Ting's eyes narrowed. She suddenly attacked. Her snow-white hand met Chen Hao, who was one with the sword, empty-handed. What made Chen Hao even more shocked was that when the sword and palm met, there was a sound of metal clashing. At the same time, Long Ting's hand, which was on her waist, finally moved. What a strong physical body. Chen Hao was shocked. Without thinking, he rushed up to the sky with a rumble and narrowly avoided Long Ting's other hand, which was as fast as lightning. Bang! At this moment, Long Ting also rushed up to the sky and followed him like a shadow. Her two palms were as fast as lightning. There was still no mystery and it was straightforward. However, the power contained in each palm had the power to collapse the mountains and split the earth. It made the scalps of the spectators numb. Brother Cho, who was always at ease and gave people an unfathomable feeling, was completely like a headless fly at this moment. He was attacked by the powerful Long Ting and dodged everywhere. He didn't even dare to face her head-on. In fact, none of the experts present dared to put themselves in his shoes. Even Long Yi didn't dare to. Damn, what's going on? Didn't she say that her combat power is not as good as Long Yi's? This is not as good as Long Yi's? She's only at the medium stage of the human celestial stage, but her strength is absolutely unmatched by those at the peak of the later stage of the human celestial stage. Isn't this too abnormal? The more Chen Hao fought, the more frightened he was. At this moment, he had already thrown the idea of trampling on Long Ting to the back of his mind. The only thing he wanted was to not be trampled on. Her absolute power was too strong. All his skills and mysteries were vulnerable in front of her. She could turn his attacks into ashes with a casual palm. There were only 3 points on Long Ting's body. First, absolute power. Second, absolute speed. And third, absolute defense. In front of absolute power, any skills were nothing. In the world of martial arts, only speed was invincible. In front of absolute speed, all flaws could be covered. Her absolute defense was so strong that Chen Hao, who was always confident in his physical body, couldn't help but admit his inferiority. With these 3 points, how could Chen Hao trample on her? Chapter 579. Haha. In the independent space of the aircraft, Long Ting, who was lying beside Chen Hao, laughed proudly and said, "Brother Hao, I'm ravaging that ugly bastard. Humph, I told him to change his name, but he didn't listen. Now he's running away like a rat. He's so scared that he's pissing his pants. He doesn't even dare to fight back. What a good-for-nothing. Good brother, if I want to kill him, I only need one move, but I won't. I must ravage him. In the second world, Chen Hao, who was already in shock, was so angry when he heard Long Ting's words. Damn, when did he piss his pants? But he couldn't say it out loud. He could only look at Long Ting and said, "Is the opponent weak?" So weak that it's pathetic. I didn't even use any of my skills. Well, actually, it's not that he's too weak, it's that I'm too strong. Let's take off one of his arms first. Brother Hao, I've recorded the video. I'll show you when I ravage that ugly bastard. Fuck. In the arena of the second world, Chen Hao suddenly felt a sharp and fast aura appear beside him. At this moment, he realized that Long Ting wanted to take off one of his arms. In fear, Chen Hao's mind was pushed to the extreme and he went completely crazy. Absolutely not. No matter what, he couldn't let this girl succeed. Otherwise, where was his dignity as a man? Where was his face? For the first time in the second world, even when he faced Long Yi, he didn't feel a sense of danger. This made Chen Hao completely serious. He couldn't lose. Especially, he couldn't lose to this girl. Break for me. Boom. At this critical moment, Chen Hao tossed aside all distracting thoughts in his mind. His entire mind was immersed in the arena of the second world, immersed in this battle. This was also the first time that Chen Hao had truly pushed himself to the limit. Battle intent, strength, combat skills, as well as the comprehension of the heavenly Tao law, the use of energy, and even the carving technique that he relied on to save his life. At the moment of the explosion, Chen Hao turned into a stream of light. Ah! Brother Cho is dead. Brother Cho has finally lost? I can't blame her for losing. This Long Ting is really too strong. Why aren't the results out yet? Just when everyone thought that Chen Hao had been drowned by Long Ting's violent energy and had died, the display screen in the arena still did not show any results even after a few seconds of exclamation. What was going on? Suddenly, a sword light flashed. Ding. Break for me. Then, Brother Cho, Chen Ritian, appeared with his mouth full of blood. He slashed out with his sword, and then his voice was heard. Then, Long Ting's surprised voice was heard. However, Chen Hao thought that his attack would definitely succeed. He did not hesitate to take the attack of the residual energy of the explosion that had not completely dissipated. The sudden attack that merged with all things in the world was actually slapped away by Long Ting's jade-like hand. Long Ting's hand actually only had a cut, and a little bit of blood flowed out. How could this be? Chen Hao had suffered great physical injuries and attacked with the Carving Heart Sutra. Naturally, he had captured the life trajectory of every cell in Long Ting's body. No matter how fast Long Ting's reaction was, as long as she blocked with her body, she would definitely be cut off like tofu. However, with just a cut, Chen Hao felt that Long Yi's body had completely changed in an instant, and he could not go any further. Concealment. Chen Hao can completely conceal his aura in the second world. Wrong, completely wrong. This is a unique skill that he has mastered, not a divine artifact concealment magic treasure. Long Yi, who was immersed in the arena, was shocked. Long Ting was also shocked, because they were quite confident in their perception. They had also seen Chen Hao's concealment skills in reality. However, most of them did not think much of it. They just felt that Chen Hao's concealment skills were so strong that they could not sense it. After all, they were only in the human celestial stage. In the same stage, a slightly advanced concealment skill could deceive people in the same stage. You actually made me bleed? After a short moment of surprise, Long Ting looked at the blood on her hand even more incredulously than Chen Hao. Damn it. Let's see where you can hide. Whoosh 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 whoosh. In an instant, Long Ting flew into a rage. She was furious and embarrassed. She had boasted shamelessly that she wanted to remove his arm, but not only had she failed to do so, she had even been made to bleed by him. She knew that Chen Hao knew as well. The only difference was that she did not let Chen Hao know that she knew that the ugly freak was Chen Hao. This was simply too embarrassing. Therefore, for the sake of her reputation, she did not care anymore and directly raised her strength to the peak. Violent gales and hurricanes were 100 times more terrifying than before. Moreover, they covered the entire arena and wreaked havoc. What was more shocking was that the hurricane at this moment was no longer a simple hurricane. It had condensed into many cold wind blades, which were as sharp as sword radiance. At this moment, Chen Hao didn't dare to integrate himself into everything in the world. Otherwise, without the protection of the true core strength, he would be cut into pieces by just relying on his body. Now, the only thing he could do was to resist and fight head-on. The extremely ugly Chen Ritian violently attacked with his sword. Rumble, 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 the enormous and terrifying pressure, the unbearable power, the power that caused Chen Hao's palm to crack with every block, instantly made Chen Hao incomparably miserable. However, under this enormous pressure, his state of mind was surprisingly calm even though his mouth was full of blood. The terrifying wind blades appeared clearly in his mind, and even their trajectories were completely under his control. At this moment, his brain was like a precise computer, calculating the recoil he would suffer after every block, the direction his body would move in, the distance his body would move in, and the order in which the other wind blades would appear. Everything was accurately presented in his mind. Hiss, countless white lights flashed. The cultivators who were in the spectator mode in the arena were forced to leave. Only a few genius disciples at the peak of the later stage of the human celestial stage could stay in the arena. Even Long Yi was scared because he was busy dealing with his sister's horrible attack. After Chen Hao was forced to show up, he was the focus of his sister's attack. How could he withstand it? After a moment, everyone was dumbfounded. Even Long Ting, who had launched her most powerful attack, opened her eyes wide. How could this be possible? Once or twice, everyone thought that ugly brother Chen Ritian was just lucky to be able to block all of Long Ting's attacks. But 3 times, 4 times, 10 times? For a full half a minute, Chen Hao looked as if he had been sent flying everywhere by the rebound force. He was like a rattledrum, but he was not hit even once by the dense and terrifying attacks. Even though he coughed up blood, and the webbing between his thumb and index finger was torn, which was a horrible sight to behold, all of it was because of the terrifying rebound force. At this moment, the cultivators who were shocked by Long Ting's horrible power started to be shocked by Chen Ritian's defense, which seemed to be chaotic but was perfect. Even those who thought Chen Ritian was unfathomable didn't expect his gifted combat skill to be so powerful. He is too powerful. I didn't expect this ugly guy is so powerful. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Exactly. I feel his gifted combat skill, reaction speed, and adaptability are better than Brother Long's. He is even more powerful than Chen Hao. That's for sure. At least, I haven't seen anyone who is so powerful. Nie Xiaofeng and Yun Zhongjian, who had been forced to leave the spectator mode in the first round, stared at the ugly guy in the arena. They were totally shocked. At the same time, some young geniuses who knew Long Ting was here were also shocked. He is so powerful. Long Ting's eyes were blank. She took a deep breath and said to herself, "No, I can't hesitate anymore." Condense. It was as if 10,000 swords had returned to their master. The densely packed wind blades suddenly combined into 2, 2 into 1, and 4 into 1. Their might and power instantly became even more terrifying. Long Ting knew that this was the only way. Otherwise, if this continued, it would be hard to predict who would win if she ran out of energy. Rumble. Rumble. Pff. Chen Hao's vision went dark. Although he felt very stifled, depressed, and humiliated, this was still the first time he had ever felt a life-threatening threat from World 2. Furthermore, there was nothing he could do to stop it or fight back against it. Boundless pain filled Chen Hao, and he knew that he was about to be defeated. This was the first time he had truly been defeated after coming to World 2. Furthermore, he had been killed by a girl who was many times stronger than him. Although he didn't want to admit defeat, there was nothing he could do about it. Rumble. Forget it. To everyone's surprise, the instant Long Ting's attack was about to reach Chen Hao's body, Long Ting actually waved her hand and detonated her attack, stopping the activation of her attack. It's boring to win with strength. Brother Hao? This. After Long Ting finished speaking, she actually revealed a mischievous and proud smile to Ugly Person. Then she turned into a ray of light and disappeared from the arena, leaving behind Ugly Person Chen Ritian with his eyes wide open. Challenger Long Ting unexpectedly left the second world. Arena champion Chen Ritian wins. In the aircraft, Long Ting jumped up. Facing Chen Hao's wide eyes that were filled with anger, the girl stuck out her tongue and made a funny face as she smiled smugly. How did you know? Chen Hao asked angrily. He couldn't wait to push this girl down, take off her pants, and spank her ass until it swelled up. Unfortunately, he could only think about it. He couldn't even move. The only thing he could do was to look at Long Ting jumping up and down in front of him. Chapter 580. Long Ting laughed proudly, but did not answer Chen Hao. I got it. However, in just an instant, Chen Hao deduced all sorts of possibilities and felt depressed. If he had been a little wary of Long Ting and Long Yi, he would not have been fooled by Long Ting. Unfortunately, Chen Hao, who had always been scheming, had been tricked by Long Ting. Especially when he thought about how Long Ting had deliberately told him that she had met an ugly freak called Chen Ritian. Chen Hao wanted nothing more than to find a piece of tofu and kill himself. Damn, that was definitely a naked tease, but he had fallen for it. Brother Hao, my good brother, your battle talent is really amazing. If it wasn't for my absolute strength being so much stronger than yours, I would definitely have been taught a lesson by you. I now officially announce that I'm starting to worship you. Long Ting was smart enough not to ask Chen Hao how he knew, or perhaps guess something. Instead, he said with a smile, It's useless to worship, just you wait. Don't, it's all in the past. You're a man, are you going to argue with a little girl like me? Besides, our relationship is so good, and you almost cooked me. Also, I gave my first time to you. Long Ting pointed at her pink and seductive mouth and said, Chen Hao was so stifled that he was speechless. Meeting a witch like Long Ting who dared to say and do anything, he was truly defeated. What else was there to say? Long Ting's departure did not affect Chen Hao's battle. However, he was so angry that his mood was affected, and he really wanted to vent. However, for the sake of the reputation that he had built up with great difficulty and his own comprehension of the great Tao, Chen Hao could only endure. Otherwise, the next few opponents would be much more miserable. After 10 battles, Chen Hao directly left. However, just as he stepped out of the arena, Chen Hao exclaimed in surprise. There's actually a bonus? And so much? This was something that Chen Hao did not expect. Chen Hao only knew about the dividends when he first entered the arena. However, only famous people had the right to discuss this condition with the arena. Although my current identity can be considered a little famous, it seems that I'm still a little far from being a celebrity, right? Besides, I didn't talk to the arena about the dividends. Why did they give it to me? Chen Hao was a little surprised. At this moment, if he went to the arena with his original identity, he would definitely be considered a celebrity, and he would have the absolute confidence to talk to the arena about the dividends. However, Chen Hao's status was much lower than Chen Ritian's. Chen Hao didn't even think about sharing his fame. 50 crystals per person in the arena. When I first came to the arena, the famous people Zue Hongchen and Zhuge Ming got 100 crystals per person in the arena. It was half of what they got, but it was still 5 times more than the basic 10 crystals in the human celestial stage. There were 1,426 people in the first round, and 34,358 people in the second round? Looking at the statistics from the arena, Chen Hao was shocked. Of course, Chen Hao instantly understood the reason. It was not that he was too famous, but it was because of Long Ting. Because other than the second round where Long Ting appeared, although the number of spectators in the subsequent rounds was more than twice the number of spectators in the first round, none of them could reach 1/5 of the number of spectators in the first round. The total number of spectators in the 9 rounds was about the same as Long Ting's round. However, even so, the arena received 3.5 million crystals as a revenue from the spectators in the arena. Unfortunately, Chen Hao's bonus was only 5%. What a scam! I've suffered 3.5 million crystals with them, but I only get 175,000 crystals as a bonus. Chen Hao, who had been shocked by the sudden increase in income from his wealth card, was depressed when he saw the detailed list. He was being exploited too much. Shouldn't they at least split it in half? It was only 5%. This won't do. When I come tomorrow, I have to talk to the arena. You guys are eating meat, so you should at least let me have some soup. How can I just smell the fragrance? Otherwise, I'll quit. What Chen Hao didn't know was that it was already good enough that they took the initiative to give him a bonus, let alone 5%, which was already the highest percentage among ordinary celebrities. After all, the entire arena of the Asian Ing planet was owned by one company. There was no other company. What could you do if they didn't give you a bonus? However, when Chen Hao went to the arena the next day, the deal was struck. The reason was simple. His identity as Chen Ritian had risen to the top of the list of celebrities due to his duel with the top beauty of the Xiantian city, who was also the most terrifying sorceress, Long Ting. In particular, the shocking battle skills he had displayed during the duel had caused Chen Ritian's identity to skyrocket. In just a day's time, the entire Ing city had been shaken. Although he wasn't as good as Chen Hao, he wasn't far behind. Therefore, when the ugly Chen Ritian came to the arena to talk, the arena didn't hesitate to increase the bonus to 10%. At the same time, the cost of spectator mode in the arena was directly increased to 100 crystals for all the battles that Chen Ritian participated in. This made Chen Hao extremely excited for the next few days of battles. However, after 10 days or so, the income began to decline. The reason was simple. Just like the singers on Earth, no matter how awesome they were, if they held concerts every day in the same place, the audience would decrease. Even so, the wealth that Chen Hao gained was extremely awesome. At least it was so for him. Or rather, for most cultivators, it was an object of envy and jealousy. Judging from Chen Hao's performance, it seemed easy to make money. However, that wasn't the case. Even the top celebrities didn't fight every day. Moreover, even if they fought every day, they would only fight when they needed a large number of battles to stabilize their realm or when they encountered a bottleneck in comprehending a unique skill. Otherwise, it would be a waste of time. Secondly, their battles were heavily influenced by their personal style. The biggest difference was that no one could be like Chen Ritian, who could let his opponent fight to his heart's content, become stronger when facing a strong opponent, and change his style according to his opponent's style. Therefore, to 99.9% of famous people, they could earn some money from the arena, but it was impossible for them to make a fortune from it. It could only be said that Chen Hao was an exception. In the arena, in less than a month, Chen Hao had transferred 1 million immortal core crystals to each of his women's wealth cards. Although the women hadn't logged into the second world yet, the wealth card was universal. Since he was rich, how could he let his wives lack money? I'm a money-making machine right now, and it's not just the arena. Speaking of which, as the number of times I appear in the arena increases, it becomes less and less. To the perverted Chen Hao, it's the slowest way to earn money. Selling the spirit spring water should work, right? Selling origin stones was awesome, right? As for purchasing materials to refine Dharma weapons, that was even more awesome. If Chen Hao was willing, it wouldn't take long for him to enter the world's richest list. However, Chen Hao wasn't stupid. He didn't specialize in making money. The arena's combination of making money and cultivation was undoubtedly the best. Even if he couldn't make money, he had to continue. Brother Hao, are you tired? You only know how to fight all day long, and you even accept anyone's challenge. It's fine if you accept it, but you even suppress your own forces and serve everyone well. Why you so good? In the aircraft, Long Ting was leisurely lying on a chair with her legs crossed and eating spirit fruits. She stared at Chen Hao, who had unlocked the seal 10 days ago but didn't do anything to her, and said, "Making money. How much can you make with that little money? Do you think everyone is like you, miss? Besides, I'm mainly doing it for cultivation. In order to cultivate, you want to challenge experts? Or go to the elementary training field and imitate powerful experts. No matter what, it's better than the arena, right? You don't understand. This is my Tao. Okay, play by yourself. Don't disturb me, Chen Hao said as calmly as possible. Chen Hao also understood. If he really fought with this girl, no matter what, he would be the one to suffer. She wasn't afraid of anything, so what could Chen Hao do? The temptation of bathing once a day, feeding you food several times, and beating people up? Okay, just stick out your sexy little butt, come on. Chen Hao wouldn't pester her endlessly if he was crazy. The knot in his heart hadn't been untied yet. Who knew if this girl was his long-lost direct descendant? Besides, Chen Hao clearly realized that when facing this girl, as long as there was the slightest movement of the wind, he would uncontrollably become restless. This feeling was very bad. If he didn't handle it well, it would become a serious inner demon. He then continue, but it should be soon. What's soon? 20 days will be up soon. What do you think? Hurry up and leave, lest you accidentally interrupt and lose a strand of consciousness. I'm reminding you out of kindness. I think so. In the second world, Chen Hao, who was preparing to start a new day of fighting, suddenly stopped and immediately left the second world. Not long after he left the second world, the seals of all the independent spaces in the aircraft suddenly fluctuated violently. After a few minutes, the supervisor reminded him. Immediately, the seals returned to normal. You have nothing to do now, right? There are a lot of things to do. I don't have time to play with you, but I can play with you for a while. Ah? Really? Brother Hao, my good brother, you're so nice. I thought you were going to continue to clearly want to but pretend not to, clearly like but pretend not to like, and ignore me. Give me a strand of hair. Chen Hao glared at Long Ting and said directly. Brother Hao, what are you doing? My hair can't be moved. Every strand is equivalent to a supreme-grade spirit treasure. Moving a strand will destroy the whole. Chen Hao almost said the word, fuck. Brother Hao, I'm serious, I'm not joking. Otherwise, what can't I give you? Why don't I give you my whole person, just don't take it apart. Chen Hao was really annoyed. He couldn't speak for a few seconds. Suppressing the throbbing in his body, he said, Essence blood, is that okay? That's fine. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 581. Long Ting directly forced out a drop of blood essence, which slowly floated in front of Chen Hao and said, But what do you want to do? I want to study what kind of monster you are. Chen Hao said, You're the monster. You want to study it with a drop of blood essence? Chen Hao glared at Long Ting and did not speak, directly urging his mind. Shua. Hiss hiss hiss. In an instant, a pile of strange things that Long Ting had never seen before appeared in the enclosed space. The small ones were smaller than ants, while the largest was about 1 meter, but there were tens of thousands of them. However, what made Long Ting feel strange was that although these things could barely be considered good minerals, they did not contain any mysterious aura, as if they were the most ordinary tools. What were these things? What were they trying to do? Long Ting was curious. Don't move. Just as Long Ting reached out to take a small toy for a closer look, Chen Hao suddenly stopped her. This thing will break with a touch. Wait for me to assemble it. As Chen Hao spoke, his mind suddenly split into strands, and at the same time, he carefully urged his true yuan, fearing that he would damage any of the components. There was no other way. The cultivators of this world were too strong. If the hard metal did not contain runic arrays, it could be twisted into a fried dough twist with a pinch of the fingers. If Long Ting used her true yuan to test it, what would happen? Hiss 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 hiss. Kacha, kacha, kacha. Tens of thousands of components, under the control of Chen Hao's powerful mind, quickly assembled. In just a few minutes, they had become two things that Long Ting had never seen before and did not know the use of. At this moment, Chen Hao sent out a stream of energy, which directly merged into one of the items. Soon after, with a slight hum, the interior of the item seemed to have entered a state of rapid rotation. DDD. It was also at this moment that another thing lit up. Lightning energy can be so gentle? Long Ting's powerful perception immediately sensed a minute amount of lightning energy. What surprised her was that it was actually very stable and gentle. This completely exceeded her understanding. It had to be known that the most violent energy in the world was undoubtedly the power of lightning. In other words, it was lightning attribute energy. How could it be so gentle and even? What is this? Long Ting looked at the screen that was slowly lighting up in surprise. This is something I invented. You won't be able to understand it, Chen Hao said directly. There was no way to explain it. It was not something from this world. Could he explain that it was a generator? Could he explain that this thing was a genetic analyzer? Could he explain the intelligent computer that contained powerful computing power but lacked emotions? All the principles had nothing to do with true essence. It was a component that Chen Hao asked God to complete on his own when he finished the basic polishing in the aircraft and was dedicated to the battle in the Second World. Chen Hao did not need Chen Hao's help or any mysteries. However, when the smart chip was inputted, Chen Hao combined his techniques with the technology and melted all the knowledge about biological genes in his memory into it, which cost him some effort. It seems that I really don't understand. I don't understand at all. But how are you going to study it? Long Ting asked while staring at Chen Hao with a serious, curious, and confused expression for the first time. It's too hard to explain. I'm just giving it a try. Right, other than me, only you know about this. Don't tell anyone. This is a secret between the two of us. Okay. I won't tell anyone. Just like how you saw me and I saw you. You kissed me by force and I was kissed by you by force. These are our secrets. I can't tell anyone. Cough. Please. Take it that I'm begging you. I was serious for a while. Can you stop pestering me about this? After all, you were the one who seduced and drugged me first, right? I'm serious this time. This secret can't be known by anyone, especially my family. Although my brother supports us. I don't dare to say it. Let's not talk about this, Chen Hao said gloomily. After saying that with a chi sound, he also offered up a strand of blood essence. Along with the blood essence that Long Ting had offered earlier, it was delivered to the two tiny entrances. Start a comprehensive genetic mutation analysis and trace back to the origin. Chen Hao said to the thing that Long Ting couldn't understand. Yes, master. Long Ting's eyes suddenly widened in surprise. It can talk? I don't feel the aura of a primordial spirit or an artifact spirit. I told you, you wouldn't understand. This isn't a magical treasure at all. Master, the two genes are complicated. The estimated time taken is about 36 hours, 48 minutes, and 16 seconds. What are genes? It's the most fundamental thing of life. Why are you analyzing this? What's the use of the analysis? Analyzing it for fun. Okay, if you have any questions, just ask it. As long as it knows, it can answer you. I still have to cultivate. Really? Why don't you try and find out? Chen Hao walked to the side and sat down cross-legged. Now, the whole world was quiet. It wasn't that there was no sound, but it had nothing to do with Chen Hao. Long Ting kept asking questions, and the smart computer was about to crash. Luckily, Chen Hao had set it to automatically avoid questions that exceeded the scope. Otherwise, it would have fallen into an endless loop and crashed. Master, the estimated time to complete has been pushed back by 2 hours, 34 minutes, and 6 seconds. Master, the estimated time to complete has been pushed back by 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 43 seconds. DDD. Master, the analysis is complete. Master, please take a look. Under Long Ting's incessant questions, the smart computer's analysis was severely disrupted. After more than 50 hours, the analysis was finally completed. Chen Hao, who had been waiting for a long time, jumped in front of the screen. Start the demonstration report. Yes, master. As the smart computer's mechanical voice sounded, the images of Chen Hao and Long Ting appeared on the screen. To be precise, they were basically similar, but there were some differences. Cough. Long Ting cried out in surprise, while Chen Hao coughed awkwardly. The reason was very simple. The genetic sequence made up of DNA strands could be 80% accurate. It could simulate the characteristics of a living body, including the body shape, appearance, and so on. There was no doubt that the simulated body was completely naked, and it was rotating in front of the two of them. How magical! Long Ting's face was red, but she said excitedly, "Through my genes, it can simulate a body that looks similar to me. How magical!" "Continue," Chen Hao ordered. Complicated and tedious data analysis, genetic data, and diagrams were continuously deduced and changed. Chen Hao's eyes did not move at all. At this moment, Long Ting basically could not understand what was going on. The only thing she could understand was that in her corresponding image, the graphics were changing slowly and evenly. It was a gradual process. On the other hand, Chen Hao's image was changing time and time again. Chen Hao knew very well that every mutation was when his physical body had undergone a huge change in this lifetime. It triggered heavenly punishment, damaged physical body, and so on. These genetic mutations would leave traces that could be traced back. As for Long Ting, it was obvious that she had been changing slowly since she was young. It was very uniform, and there were only a few sudden changes of a small magnitude. It should have been brought about when she triggered heavenly punishment. When the image was fixed on the primordial genes of the two of them at the time of their birth, the image jumped, and the derivation of the gene origin appeared. In Chen Hao's image, there was a man and a woman, and in Long Ting's image, there were two. Long Ting screamed in shock and looked nervously at Chen Hao. On the other hand, Chen Hao glared at Long Ting and started laughing loudly. Even though Chen Hao was still unable to explain why he had such a close and familiar feeling with Long Ting and Long Yi, he knew that there was no relationship between him and Long Ting and Long Yi at all, and that was enough. How could he not be excited? How could he not be excited? "You're not allowed to laugh. Your analysis is inaccurate." "How could I be?" For 40 hours, Long Ting did not ask questions for nothing. Although she could not understand the diagrams and data analysis that appeared, she knew what Chen Hao wanted to analyze and what results he wanted. At this moment, what was displayed was naturally tracing back to her gene origin. It might not be accurate, but it definitely makes sense. This is the result of tracing back to the evolution of the species. Mine is 100% accurate. As for yours? Hee. Looking at Chen Hao's smug look, Long Ting's expression immediately turned ugly. She glared at Chen Hao and said, "Are you looking down on me?" No, why are you laughing? Why are you laughing again? I'm happy. What, are you going to cook me again? Come, let's see who's afraid of who. Anyway, it doesn't matter if there's one more. I don't care anymore. In the past, I gave in to you and tolerated you because we felt like old friends at first sight. It made me suspect that you were my long-lost sister. Now Chen Hao's eyes were full of evil charm as they landed on Long Ting's full and alluring breasts. The meaning he wanted to express was self-evident. The angry Long Ting suddenly burst into laughter and said, "Luckily, you're not looking down on me. Who's afraid of who?" Long Ting proudly puffed out her chest and took a step forward towards Chen Hao. That look, that expression, made Chen Hao, who thought he could be awesome, suddenly speechless. "You think I don't dare? You want to force yourself? Don't bother, I'll do it myself." Seeing Chen Hao's posture, Long Ting directly reached for her buttons. Chapter 582. Fuck. Stuff. You're amazing. I admit defeat. Chen Hao was sure that this girl was completely different and could not be judged by common sense. Although Chen Hao knew that this girl was just trying to scare him, her bottom line was really beyond Chen Hao's reach. What else could he do other than admit defeat? Could it be that he had to wait for the arousal in his body to evolve into madness, insanity, and finally lose his mind and pounce on her? Long Ting was very proud of herself. "I knew you had the heart but not the guts. However, although I have planted the love root, the effect is obviously not as strong as the spiritual medicine described in the grimoire. After this mission, I have to refine another spiritual medicine for him." In the next 10 days, Chen Hao finally experienced what real torture was. A great beauty, A great beauty who kept teasing his limits, was right in front of him, but he did not dare to kiss her. Originally, when Chen Hao had not done the appraisal, as long as he had the slightest bit of lust, he would quickly get rid of it. But now, because he knew that it did not violate ethics or morality, he held the thought that it was reasonable to admire and that it was innocent. In this space where a man and a woman were alone, it directly became a game where Chen Hao challenged the limits of his willpower time and time again. Phew. Finally, I'm finally free. When the independent space seal in the aircraft vibrated violently and gradually disappeared, Chen Hao, who was immersed in the pain for 10 days, finally heaved a long sigh of relief. He felt refreshed as if the clouds had cleared and the sun and the moon had appeared. At the same time, he also felt a sense of reluctance. Swoosh! Long Ting, who was originally dressed boldly and seductively, was now dressed neatly at an extremely fast speed. At the same time, her appearance and aura changed instantly. Chen Hao also changed his appearance and aura. When the seal completely disappeared, Long Yi and the surrounding cultivators finally appeared in front of them. Everyone, we have arrived at the space barrier of the blazing star. When you have collected enough blazing fire crystal marrow, you can activate the mission token. The aircraft that our alliance has stationed here waiting for you will come to pick you up. Of course, it may not be Old Man's aircraft. When the next batch of aircraft carrying cultivators arrives, they will replace this Old Man's aircraft and wait in the chaotic space nearby. As long as you complete the mission and activate the token, no matter which aircraft is there, they will come to pick you up. I hope that you can complete the mission as soon as possible. I hope that you can have luck and obtain opportunities. Now, please leave the aircraft and depart on your own. Swoosh! The exit in the aircraft's cabin immediately. Let's go! Phew! Let's go! Boom boom boom! Boom boom boom! One by one, the cultivators activated their protective upstanding chi and flew out of the aircraft. Some directly tore through the space barrier and entered the space of the blazing star, while others flew into the distance in the chaotic space. Obviously, they had to split up to avoid entering the same area at the same time. Of course, some of them also wanted to avoid other cultivators with powerful auras. Brother Chen's sister, let's go. Long Yi sent a telepathic message to Chen Hao and Long Ting with a smile on his face. Brother Long, Sister Ting, you have seen the image of my cultivation partner, Tantai Lien. She has the aura of the Phoenix inheritance. You have also sensed it. However, my simulation may not be accurate. After all, I have not seen her for a long time. If you happen to meet her, please inform me immediately. Chen Hao said. Don't worry. Your business is our business. This time, the three of us will try to stay within the range of the communication talisman. If there is any news, we will inform you immediately. We will not miss any blazing fire eye. Long Yi said without hesitation. The blazing fire eye was a lava cave on the blazing star. There were countless blazing fire eyes on the surface of the blazing star. Some were big, some were small, some were deep and some were shallow. The bigger and deeper the blazing fire eye, the higher the temperature. The deeper the blazing fire eye was, the higher the temperature. On the entire blazing star, the blazing fire crystal marrow could only be collected in the blazing fire eye. The bigger, deeper, and hotter the blazing fire eye, the higher the probability of finding the blazing fire crystal marrow. Okay, thank you so much. Chen Hao said gratefully. This was something that Chen Hao wanted to ask for, but he had no reason and was embarrassed to ask for it. Although he was very familiar with Long Yi and Long Ting and they were close friends, after all, they were here to gain experience. They were not here to help him find people. But now, Long Yi's words were undoubtedly to help Chen Hao. They would not miss any blazing fire eye. That was to say, all the blazing fire eyes, no matter big or small, had to be searched. This was undoubtedly a waste of time for Long Yi and Long Ting, who were top masters at the human celestial stage. How can you thank me? How? Chen Hao, you can't just say that. Long Ting said. Originally, she was about to call him, Brother Hao, my good brother. But she suddenly realized that her brother was here, so she quickly stopped. You little girl. Well, Brother Chen, your sister likes to joke. Let's go. Let's get away from the chaotic space first. Okay. Chen Hao replied. This. The three of them turned into a stream of light and quickly flew away along the space barrier of the blazing fire star. Phew. Outside the space barrier, the heat is so strong. I'm afraid the blazing fire star is a sea of fire, Chen Hao thought to himself as he flew quickly. Looking at the dazzling light of the barrier, coupled with the aura, Chen Hao knew that the blazing fire star was definitely a planet defined as a star on Earth, and it was definitely a star that was not inferior to the sun. The reason why little Lien dared to accept this task is probably because of the inheritance of the phoenix. Maybe she was bewitched by the two little birds. This was what Chen Hao had guessed when he knew the name of the task that Tantai Lien had accepted. Otherwise, no matter how crazy Tantai Lien was, she was only at the initial stage of the human celestial stage. How could she accept such an impossible task for a human celestial stage cultivator? In the chaotic space, after flying for a few minutes, Long Yi saw that Chen Hao and Long Ting were still calm and had no intention of stopping. He was a little embarrassed. He knew very well how strong his sister's physique was. It was not something that he could compare with. However, he was a little surprised that Chen Hao's physique was also so strong. It should be known that his sister's strength was built on the foundation of a large number of precious spiritual items of heaven and earth, as well as countless efforts and wealth of her family every day since she was born. But what about Chen Hao? He was just a genius disciple from a barren planet. Even if he used up all the resources of the planet, he would not be able to match up to his sister's consumption of wealth. This is a real genius, Long Yi thought to himself. He shook his head slightly and said, I'm going to die soon. I'll enter from here. You guys estimate the distance and enter one after the other. Don't go more than 10 million miles. The maximum distance of the communication charm that I bought is 10 million miles. Contact me after you enter. The cultivators behind us are so strong. It seems that the competition will be very fierce. You guys should be careful. Okay. Chen Hao and Long Ting replied. After that, Chen Hao, who was in between the two of them, flew for a few more minutes. After saying goodbye to Long Ting, he tore open the space barrier and entered the space of the blazing flame planet. When Long Ting estimated the distance, she also disappeared into the chaotic space. Although the three of them were a little surprised by the strength of the cultivators behind them, they didn't pay much attention to it. After all, they had come out of the spaceship together. In order to spread out, they couldn't enter the fiery star directly. Otherwise, they would be too crowded. Whether it was to complete the mission or to seek opportunities, they had to avoid the situation where they stayed together. What a terrifying temperature! Although Chen Hao was mentally prepared, the instant he entered, he was still startled by the terrifyingly high temperature that assaulted him. This was at least 10,000 miles above the ground of the blazing flame planet. If they were on the ground, how terrifying would the temperature be? Chen Hao was certain that this terrifying high temperature was definitely much higher than the temperature of the sun. Any metal material on Earth would probably be vaporized into nothing if it came here. At this moment, a strange, excited cry rang out in Chen Hao's mind. Vermilion bird? Chen Hao was slightly taken aback. Master, release my aura. This is a planet with pure fire attributes. It is very beneficial to me. Vermilion bird said excitedly in Chen Hao's mind. A long time ago, unless Chen Hao used the 5 divine beasts, the 5 divine beasts were under the control of the old god. Chen Hao did not care about them at all. Even the comprehension and cultivation of the 5 divine beasts were handled by the old god. Now that Vermilion bird had appeared, the old god must have released it. I forgot about you. Come out. Chen Hao immediately released the restriction on Vermilion bird's senses and released its mind sense. Thank you, master. The Vermilion bird let out a strange cry of excitement. Its loud and clear cry immediately spread out in the terrifying heat wave that filled the sky. Vermilion bird, I suspect that little Lien came here because of the phoenix. You and the phoenix are both ancient divine beasts of the fire attribute. Do you have any special senses? Master, you don't have to doubt that a planet with pure fire attributes like the blazing flame planet is a paradise for ancient divine beasts like us firebirds. It must be the phoenix and the phoenix. Master, if I'm not wrong, Mistress Little Yen must have been guided to the core of the planet by them. Oh! The level of the fire attribute energy near the core of a planet with pure fire attributes is the highest. As long as it reaches the level 5 mysterious fire realm, it can help us reconstruct our bodies. Vermilion Bird continued. Mysterious fire was the level of the fire attribute beyond the level 9 heavenly fire. Only practitioners at the human celestial stage and above could comprehend it. From the level 4 to the level 6 mysterious fire, practitioners at the earth celestial stage could only comprehend it. Of course, this was the general situation. It was an exception for some geniuses in the field of fire attributes. Chapter 583. And the higher the level of the fire attribute, the stronger the reconstructed body. Just the fire attribute aura on the surface of this planet has reached the level of level 9 heavenly fire. If we go deeper, it will definitely break through to a higher level of mystic fire. Near the core, it is very likely that it will reach the level of level 5 mystic fire. I've been reborn with desire many times, but I haven't had the chance to encounter it. Master, you must take me deeper and deeper. The closer we are to the core, the better. As long as I reconstruct my body, I will definitely have some ancient magical powers and become a great fighting force for Master. Old God also said that I can also be a great help to Master in refining weapons and elixirs. So comfortable. The Vermilion Bird said excitedly. The Vermilion Bird was currently bathing in the high temperature that even Qinhao's strong body felt hot and dry. It was so comfortable that it wanted to moan. Under Old God's high-pressure policy, the 5 divine beasts had never stopped cultivating. And because of their relationship with Qinhao, they could also improve along with Qinhao and obtain a lot of benefits. Not to mention whether they could reconstruct their bodies, even now, they were much more powerful than the inheritances of their previous lives. There was no other way. Although they were ancient divine beasts, they were imprisoned in a small place like the eastern continent. How could they become that strong? But now, it was different because they had a freak like Qinhao as their master. Their future was undoubtedly bright and limitless. That's not a problem, Qinhao said. You and the phoenix are ancient divine beasts. Do you have any special senses? Our main mission this time is to find Xiaolian. This, Master, we do have a special sense between us. If we were on a normal planet with life, as long as they don't hide their aura, we would be able to sense them from hundreds of millions of miles away. But here, whether it's my aura or theirs, it will be covered by the fire aura of this planet. It's definitely not as good as your sensing range. Well, if that's the case, do as you wish. Yes, Master. Buzz. At this moment, the communication talisman in Qinhao's mind vibrated. Brother Hao, did you miss me? Crushing the communication talisman, Qinhao heard Long Ting's deliberate voice that made his balls hurt. Qinhao naturally knew that this girl was just testing the distance between the two of them, but she even had the chance to tease him. However, it had to be said that if it was any other woman who teased him so passionately and without any regard for their lives, it would definitely make Qinhao feel extremely disgusted. But towards Long Ting, it was a completely different feeling. The sense of closeness and familiarity, coupled with his understanding of Long Ting during this period of time, not only did he not feel repulsed, he even felt restless and a little bit amused. This girl is simply a vixen. Qinhao took out 2 communication talismans corresponding to Long Ting and Long Yi and sent out a message. A moment later, he received a reply from Long Yi. After confirming that the 3 of them were within the range of the communication talisman, according to the map of planet blazing shown in the mission token, the 3 of them quickly headed toward the nearest blazing eye. Gasp! Qinhao's soul perception, which was many times more powerful than that of ordinary people, spread out in all directions quickly. Lift the seal, conceal your aura, and enter. At the same time, in the chaotic space, the 21 people who were divided into 3 groups, after confirming that no cultivators around them could sense them, except for the teenager at the initial stage of the human celestial stage, activated a mysterious talisman one by one. Instantly, dazzling lights were emitted from their bodies. The horrible aura of a master at the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage suddenly swept out. Then it was completely concealed. Tearing open the space barrier, they entered the planet Blazing Eye. These 21 people were the mysterious teenager and his men of sacrifice. Using a secret art to seal one's cultivation stage by force was basically not checked when accepting a task. Moreover, even if it was checked, it was difficult to detect. Only the masters of the Daluo Golden Wonderland could detect it. Of course, under normal circumstances, the Alliance didn't worry that someone would use a secret art to seal one's cultivation stage by force. That was because it wasn't a self-seal, but a forced seal. Self-sealing was easy to detect, but a forced seal was difficult to detect. Anyone who was forced to seal his cultivation stage by force basically lost the hope of breaking through to a higher cultivation stage. That was because the seal was planted in the primordial spirit, which was a completely open soul palace. In fact, in the cultivation world, only slaves or the men of sacrifice cultivated by the big sex would be planted with a secret art that could reduce and restore their cultivation stage at any time. The mysterious youth led 5 experts and followed Long Ting's footsteps. As for the other 15 people, 10 of them followed Chen Hao, and 5 of them followed Long Yi. It wasn't that the teenager thought Chen Hao was more powerful than Chen Hao. It was because he thought Chen Hao had a divine artifact, which was quite tricky. He had to do it. It was fine if he didn't make a move, but if he did, he had to kill with one strike. Otherwise, once Su Ke escaped, it would be difficult to get another chance. Phew. Long Yi, Long Ting, and that mysterious guy, although they are all masters at the peak of the later stage of the human celestial stage, and they are all peerless geniuses, I am well prepared this time. That genius boy from an unknown planet can only admit that he is unlucky. If he wants to develop with Long Ting, he will die. The teenager was only at the initial stage of the human celestial stage. Under the horrible heat, his face was still strangely pale. Even the heat couldn't get close to him, as if it was isolated by an innate coldness. After killing Long Yi, Long Ting will be the only heir of the Long family, and I will get Long Ting, the most precious thing in the world for me, the original Yin, and that, heh. The teenager's pale face showed a touch of excitement. No one knew better than him how precious Long Ting was. For example, in the teenager's heart, Long Ting was definitely thousands of times more precious than Tang Sanzang in the journey to the west. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The young man sensed a rune emitting tens of thousands of rays of golden light and a crystalline, fiery red sacred elixir in his mind. His ancestor, a mighty one who could look down on the entire Yang planet, had condensed a rune and a sacred elixir. He became even more excited. Young Master, Team 1 has locked onto Long Ting. Young Master, Team 2 has locked onto Long Yi. Young Master, Team 3 has locked onto Long Ting. Walking slowly on the lava-like surface of the blazing flame star, in less than an hour he received messages from the 3 teams. Keep your distance. When all 3 of them enter the eye of blazing flame, then approach them. Team 3, keep up the current communication. If any of you is discovered first, inform the other 2 teams immediately and attack. Yes. A powerhouse at the peak of the late stage of the Earth's celestial stage with a top-grade concealment spiritual treasure. Even if Long Yi is vigilant, he can't sense me until he is at least 10 miles away. At that time, even if I'm discovered, it won't have any effect. How could the Long family know it's me? The teenager was still moving forward with his hands behind his back as if he was shrinking the ground into an inch. He didn't need to follow them closely. He just needed to show up when the time was right. Although he was absolutely sure that he would succeed this time, he still adhered to his principle of prudence and calmness. He just needed to pick the fruits of victory. Why should he expose himself at this time? Phew. Although I'm at the human celestial stage, my soul stage is about to break through the Earth's celestial stage and step into the heaven celestial stage. The range of my soul perception is definitely greater than that of a powerhouse at the peak of the late stage of the Earth's celestial stage. There shouldn't be any cultivators nearby. Those who come here are all powerhouses at the human celestial stage. Chen Hao extended his powerful soul perception to the limit. After making sure he didn't sense any cultivator's aura, his eyes shone, "Come out." Swish. A dazzling light suddenly shot out from between Chen Hao's eyebrows. Instantly, it turned into an area with a radius of 1,000 feet. When the light disappeared, a disc-shaped object with a diameter of 1,000 feet and a height of only 10 feet appeared in front of him. If people on Earth saw this, they would definitely shout in surprise, "UFO!" Yes, it was a UFO. This was the aircraft that Chen Hao had refined in advance with all his strength. It was the most important thing for him to do. He was here to find Tan Tai Lian. He could give up the magic treasures and equipment, but the aircraft was a must. The size of this aircraft was like a mouse in front of an elephant in front of the original Silver Wing. Moreover, limited by Chen Hao's cultivation stage and the fact that he didn't find any powerhouses to help him, this aircraft couldn't reach the terrifying defensive power of the modified Silver Wing at all, even if it contained powerful spell arrays. To be exact, even the defensive power of the Silver Wing before the modification was slightly inferior. However, this was enough for Chen Hao now. Sitting in the aircraft was equivalent to wearing a protective armor that could withstand the full attack of a powerhouse at the peak of the later stage of the human celestial stage without any resistance. Even a powerhouse at the Earth's celestial stage couldn't destroy this aircraft in a short time. In other words, it was impossible to destroy it. The reason was very simple. Who wouldn't run away when they were beaten? In this space, even a powerhouse at the heaven celestial stage couldn't catch up with the speed of this UFO, let alone an Earth celestial. The aura of a supreme-grade spiritual treasure? Why is the range so large? What Chen Hao didn't know was that when he made sure there were no cultivators nearby and took out the miniature aircraft, about 10,000 miles behind him, 10 men of sacrifice under the command of the mysterious young man were looking at him in surprise. They had locked onto Chen Hao's aura. Although they couldn't see the specific scene, they could sense that the aura fluctuation around Chen Hao was abnormal. It seemed to be the aura of a supreme-grade spiritual treasure. But what puzzled them was that, with their perception as powerhouses at the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage, they could clearly judge that the size of this spiritual treasure was more than 1,000 feet. What kind of spiritual treasure could be so big? Chapter 584. Beep, beep, beep. Master, we have detected 10 auras of life at a distance of 4,983 kilometers. Tension Master. Tension Master. What? When Chen Hao stepped into the aircraft and activated the detection system, he was surprised to hear a strong warning sound. Then, he received an urgent report from the mastermind. How could this be? And the distance was less than 10,000 miles? Chen Hao's current sensing ability could reach 50,000 miles, which was 100,000 miles, as long as he was not in the chaotic space. How could he not sense the auras of 10 people when they were 10,000 miles away? Could it be that they have concealed their auras? Chen Hao understood the reason immediately. If he could not sense the auras of 10 people at a distance of 10,000 miles, the only explanation was that they had concealed their auras. They either had a powerful concealment skill or a concealment magic weapon. If that was the case, he could not sense them at all. However, Chen Hao frowned when he thought of this reason. Target locked. Simulate the real 3D scene and simulate their auras. Yes, Master. Beep, 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 swish. Along with the crisp sound of the notification, beams of light converged to form a true 3D scene in the entire space of the aircraft. The image rapidly zoomed in, and when it finally stopped, it was as if a real scene had appeared before Chen Hao's eyes. The appearance of the 10 cultivators could be seen clearly. If Chen Hao wanted to, he could even count them with a few eyelashes. At the same time, the intensity of the auras of the 10 cultivators was deduced by the detection system. Although there were some errors, the accuracy could only be 99%. If Chen Hao wanted to analyze the interference factors of the fiery star in detail and correct the errors, the accuracy could definitely be more than 0. 0001. 10 cultivators at the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage? How could this be? Chen Hao widened his eyes in surprise. This was definitely beyond his imagination. If he did not have absolute confidence in the aircraft, he would have suspected that the prediction of the auras by the mastermind had been wrong. Could it be that they are cultivators who have stayed in the fiery star for a long time? Chen Hao thought to himself. According to his understanding, the restriction for the cultivators who could come here to do the task was the human celestial stage. It was impossible for such a powerful alliance to allow an expert at the peak of the Earth's celestial stage to sneak in. If that was really the case, it would be too much of a joke. So, Chen Hao's first thought was that these 10 people had stayed here for a long time and had reached the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage from the human celestial stage. But Chen Hao rejected this idea immediately. Even for a talented cultivator, it would take decades or even hundreds of years to reach the peak of the Earth's celestial stage from the peak of the late stage of the human celestial stage. In the entire vast universe galaxy, there weren't many people that could accomplish this in 10 years. As for ordinary cultivators, it was normal for them to cultivate for thousands or even thousands of years. No one dared to casually trigger the heavenly punishment, especially after reaching this realm. Moreover, Chen Hao didn't think that 10 super geniuses could appear at once. More importantly, the 10 of them didn't look like super geniuses at all. Although they were at the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage, the strength of their auras couldn't be counted as geniuses. Moreover, there was only pure fire attribute energy on this planet. Even the law of heaven was pure. How could these cultivators, whose auras didn't have anything to do with the fire attribute, be promoted? It's obvious that the 10 of them are paying attention to me. I've just arrived here, and they've already targeted me. It's strange. The distance of 10,000 miles is the instant I appeared. Even if I didn't deliberately check, I should have been able to sense their auras. Since I didn't sense their auras, the only explanation is that they've been concealing their auras. All these signs make it seem like they're specifically following me. Chen Hao couldn't figure it out. If these 10 people were at the human celestial stage, it would be easy to understand. He could conclude that they had come here on the aircraft at the same time as him. Moreover, they had come here specifically for him. But they were at the Earth's celestial stage. It wasn't that Chen Hao wasn't smart enough. It was just that his knowledge of the Alliance's mission center was limited. Conceal the aura of the aircraft and simulate my aura. Move forward at my basic speed. Lock onto them and imitate their voices with your lips. Continue to investigate the situation within the range. Yes, master. Chen Hao, who couldn't figure it out, could only observe further. He didn't take these 10 masters at the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage seriously. They weren't worth his attention at all. With their auras, Chen Hao dared to deal with them even if he relied on his own strength. Not to mention, they had the aircraft as a powerful backup. What could they do to him? So? It's been put away. It seems to be a magic treasure like a portable cultivation room. Yes, it should be. This kind of magic treasure at the best spiritual treasure level is very valuable. It seems that this guy is definitely a genius disciple of a top force in the vast universe galaxy. Yes, he has a divine artifact concealing magic treasure and a giant best spiritual treasure cultivation room. How could he not have high-level equipment, armor, and weapons? Okay, stop discussing, let's keep up. Group 1 and Group 2 reported that Long Ting and Long Yi would be able to enter the Flaming Eye in about 10 minutes. This guy's time is almost up. We'll soon know how many good things he has. Let's not let our guard down. This guy has so many magic treasures. If he has a divine artifact attacking magic treasure, even if we besiege him, I'm afraid we'll have to pay a price to take him down. So, we'll try our best to get close to him. We'll try our best to kill him when he doesn't notice us. The AI simulated the conversations of these people through the shape of their mouths. Separated by thousands of miles, these fellows clearly did not realize that their most ordinary conversation could be heard. Even more so, they did not think that their every move was clearly seen. Long Yi and Long Ting are also being followed? Do they still think I have a divine artifact concealing magic treasure? Chen Hao was even more surprised by their conversation. What's going on? Those who thought he had a divine artifact concealing magic treasure were Long Ting, Tianjin, and Long Yi, who had seen his concealment skills. However, because Long Ting and Long Yi knew Chen Ritian's identity and had used a concealment technique during the battle with Long Ting, the two of them naturally denied that Chen Hao had used a saint-level concealment magic treasure to conceal himself. The most likely culprit was Tianjin. However, although Chen Hao had only known Tianjin for a short time and Long Yi and Long Ting had come here because of Tianjin's information, Chen Hao's intuition told him that Tianjin would never harm Long Yi and Long Ting. The only possibility was that when Chen Hao had used his concealment skills in the wet market, he had been seen by someone else. That was why they were targeting the three of them now. However, Chen Hao still couldn't figure out how an ace at the Earth's celestial stage could come here. After all, any planet that was listed as a mission location by the Asian Ing Star Alliance was under the control of the Alliance. Apart from the cultivators who had accepted the mission, no one could come here without permission. The only possibility was that they had come here with Chen Hao and the other two in the Alliance's aircraft. But they were Earth Celestials. Could it be someone from the Alliance? If that was the case, it would be too fucking dark. Chen Hao couldn't figure it out, but he had to inform Long Ting and Long Yi immediately. Buzz. Long Yi and Long Ting's communication talismans vibrated almost at the same time. They were slightly puzzled. After all, they had just sent a letter. Why were they contacting each other now? Brother Long, I'm being followed by 10 aces at the peak of the Earth's celestial stage. It's very strange. Also, it's obvious that they're targeting me. I can't figure out why there are aces at the peak of the Earth's celestial stage on the blazing star. Judging from their auras, they're definitely not geniuses. Also, my identity hasn't been exposed this time and I've accepted the mission early. There's no reason for them to target me. Could it be that someone is following you too? Chen Hao didn't say directly that he had received confirmation that Long Ting and Long Yi were being followed as well. After all, it was already very unusual for him to discover that he was being followed by aces at the peak of the Earth's celestial stage. If he could also hear what they were saying, it would be very strange. Long Yi and Long Ting crushed the talisman. Chen Hao's voice came into their minds, which surprised them. Suppressing their cultivation stage by force? In a short moment, the brother and sister thought of a possibility at the same time, which was the only possibility. Long Yi thought of more than 20 cultivators whose identities he couldn't identify but whose auras were powerful. Moreover, when they were flying in the chaotic space just now, weren't there 20 cultivators with powerful cultivation behind them? No wonder I couldn't identify them. 20 cultivators with powerful auras. 10 of them are following Brother Chen. I think they're targeting me and my sister. Long Yi frowned and increased his perception to the maximum. At the same time, he sent a message to Chen Hao as fast as he could. Brother Chen, inform my sister immediately and ask her to meet you as soon as possible. You can specify the place where we'll meet. I'll also get close to you immediately. The 10 cultivators who are following you must be death slave warriors whose cultivation stages are being suppressed by force. Do you remember that I told you that there were more than 20 cultivators with powerful auras who we couldn't identify? When we were flying in the chaotic space, they were also following us. There were 20 of them with powerful auras. If I'm not wrong, my sister and I are being followed too. They're targeting us. All right, Brother Chen, hide your aura immediately. Don't let them surround you. Chen Hao told the two of them this news. Other than reminding them, he also wanted to find out what was going on. He thought that Long Yi would be as confused as he was, but he didn't expect that Long Yi would come to a conclusion in an instant and solve the mystery in Chen Hao's heart. Chapter 585. Although Chen Hao still did not know what was going on with the slave warriors who had suppressed their realms and how they had managed to hide it from the Alliance, he knew that Long Yi was definitely right. Brother Hao, tell my brother to meet up with you. You can specify the location, and I'll rush over now. Try not to alarm the other party first. Yes, Do as I say and continue to move forward at your current speed. Pretend that you don't know and stay calm. We'll contact each other in time. If they speed up and attack, quickly hide your aura and don't get surrounded. Brother Hao, don't be afraid, don't panic, I'll take care of everything. Long Ting's message came immediately after, but this girl was completely different from Long Yi's nervousness. She did not sound nervous at all. Instead, she sounded a little excited, as if she had encountered something fun. Moreover, although she did not explain anything, her consideration of the problem was no worse than Long Yi's. It was obvious that Long Ting had also thought of what Long Yi had considered. No need to trouble yourself. You guys can just approach my current location. I'll hide my aura and wait for you guys to hide your auras and rush over. Now we'll hide at the same time. If your speculation is true, it's good to mess up their formation first. Chen Hao sent a message to the two of them. There was indeed nothing to be nervous about. Of course, the premise was that Chen Hao's aircraft had discovered that the other party was following them in advance. If they did not, he would be fine, but Long Yi and Long Ting would be in trouble. The reason was simple. The other party was only following them now and had not attacked. Obviously, they were waiting for an opportunity. Without a doubt, the best opportunity was when Chen Hao and the other two entered the Eye of Flaming Flames. At that time, they would seal the entrance and attack at the same time. No matter how talented Long Ting and Long Yi were, it would be difficult for them to escape from the other party's siege. However, it was different now. The three of them knew of the other party's existence. As long as they hid their auras, the other party would not be able to sense them from a distance. Wouldn't it be easy to escape? Brother Chen, are you sure it's okay for you to hide where you are? I'll just move within a small range. We'll just maintain communication, Chen Hao said. The communication talisman also had a positioning function while transmitting messages. What's going on? Just as Chen Hao, Long Yi, and Long Ting concealed their auras at almost the same time, the three groups of men of sacrifice were shocked. It's impossible for them to discover us. Right now, they are maintaining a distance of around 10,000 li. Moreover, we have the help of a top-grade concealment spiritual treasure. How could they discover us? If they didn't find us, why did they hide? The three teams were puzzled. Get closer quickly. The leaders of the three groups made their decisions instantly and sent out messages at the same time. What? Long Yi and Long Ting also concealed themselves? Long Ting and that kid also concealed themselves? Long Yi and that kid also concealed themselves? Almost at the same time, the three teams that were in real-time communication confirmed one thing. The three of them went into hiding almost at the same time. If there was only one of them, they might have thought that the other party was being careful out of habit. After all, at such a distance, they did not think that the other party would be able to discover them. But now, not good. He must have been discovered. Immediately report to young master. Buzz buzz buzz. Have they made a move? Their speed is quite fast. When the three communication amulets vibrated in his mind at the same time, the mysterious young man, who was walking leisurely with his hands clasped behind his back, showed a faint smile on his pale face. His speed suddenly increased by several times. He knew that at this moment, the three teams should have made a move at the same time. Next, what he had to do was to conquer Long Ting. But when he sped up and crushed the three communication amulets and heard the contents of the amulets, his smile, expectation, and excitement suddenly changed. Concealment at the same time? When they were 10,000 li away. How could they have been discovered? He, who thought he had everything under control, was shocked by the sudden news. His careful arrangement, or to be exact, his arrangement had no loopholes. In any case, this kind of accident should not have happened. In his opinion, the most he could do was to seal them in the battle behind the flaming eye. Maybe the three of them had trump cards that he did not expect, but these were all within his expectations. But now, his subordinates, who had the best spiritual artifacts and were at the peak of the late stage of the Earth's celestial stage, were discovered when they were 10,000 li away. How could this be possible? Chen Hao and the other two were only at the peak of the late stage of the human celestial stage. Even if they were at the peak of the late stage of the Earth celestial stage, how could they be discovered when they were hiding in the dark? He couldn't figure it out. The young man also couldn't figure it out. But he was smart and didn't dwell on the process. Since the result had happened, he could only face it and make the most correct decision in the shortest time possible. He couldn't make a mistake because of an accident, which led to all the mistakes. The third team should give up the target and form an encirclement with the second team to kill Long Yi. The three teams should go all out, no need to hide anymore. In an instant, the mysterious young man gave the order decisively. For the mysterious young man, Chen Hao, who was also mysterious, had a divine artifact concealing magic treasure. Once he concealed himself, let alone the 10 aces, even the mysterious young man couldn't sense his aura. Just looking for him was like looking for a needle in a haystack, let alone killing him. So, giving up was the best choice. Long Ting and Long Yi were his most important targets. Moreover, they were 10,000 li away. After Long Ting and Long Yi concealed their auras, his subordinates couldn't sense them. But as long as they approached quickly, they could easily capture their auras. He believed that with the strength of 15 people, killing Long Yi wouldn't be a problem. As for Long Ting, he was following her. He was just a little further away from the first team. With him and 5 aces at the peak of the late stage of the Earth's celestial stage, it would be easy to take down Long Ting. Swish. Just as the mysterious young man gave the order decisively, a dazzling light shone from between his eyebrows. A horrible aura soared into the sky. Whoosh, whoosh, the tumbling heat waves spread wildly in all directions under the horrible aura. In an instant, the area within 1,000 feet around the young man seemed to have become a vacuum zone. How could he still be at the initial stage of the human celestial stage? The aura of his cultivation stage had been raised to the peak of the late stage of the human celestial stage. This wasn't a forced suppression of his cultivation stage. He had used a powerful magic treasure to change his cultivation stage aura. Although Long Yi, Chen Hao, and the others couldn't see this change, the monitoring system of the Alliance could definitely detect it. But his real cultivation stage was still in the human celestial stage, so it wasn't affected at all. However, it wasn't the aura of his cultivation that was truly formidable, and it was the terrifying energy that had suddenly risen within his body. If Chen Hao were to see this sort of energy, he would definitely be extremely shocked because it wasn't the slightest bit inferior to the terrifying energy Long Ting had utilized to seal him all those years ago. Humph. So what if you found out? This time, since I've done it, no one can stop me. Swish. The mysterious young man suddenly turned into a streamer and disappeared. His target was Long Ting. Among the three of them, only Long Ting was worthy of his attention. He didn't even take Long Yi, who was recognized as the invincible celestial being on the Ying planet. Boom, 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 boom. After receiving the order from the mysterious young man, the 20 aces at the peak of the late stage of the Earth's celestial stage no longer had any scruples. They increased their speed to the limit and flew forward. It was only a short distance of 10,000 miles. For them, it was only a matter of minutes. They estimated the direction in which the mysterious young man had escaped after hiding his aura. They formed a circle and flew forward crazily. At this moment, Long Ting and Long Yi also caught the aura of the mysterious young man. In the state of hiding our aura, our speed is greatly reduced. Once we're within 1,000 miles, even if we hide our aura, we'll be discovered by them. Sister, don't hide anymore. Try your best to get close to Brother Chen. Sensing the 5 auras approaching quickly, Long Yi knew he couldn't hesitate any longer. Otherwise, with his speed in the state of hiding, he wouldn't be able to escape in time and would be discovered by the 5 people. At that time, it would be more troublesome. Therefore, the best choice was to fly at full speed. With his speed, it wouldn't be a problem for him to meet up with Chen Hao and Long Ting. As long as the 3 of them met up, with the help of his sister's powerful hiding power and Chen Hao's powerful combat strength and hiding skill, as well as himself, they would have no problem dealing with the mysterious young man. Okay. Boom. Long Ting's graceful and exquisite body suddenly emitted an extremely valiant aura. With a stomp of her feet, she charged towards Chen Hao like a cannonball. At the same time, Chen Hao, who had completely hidden his aura and was in the aircraft, could clearly detect the movements of the 10 cultivators. However, what made him frown slightly was that the 10 of them didn't come close to him. Instead, they stopped hiding their aura and rushed toward Long Yi. What's going on? Are they going to give up on me and focus on Long Yi? Chen Hao instantly understood the other party's intentions. Unfortunately, the distance between him, Long Ting, and Long Yi was tens of millions of miles. Although the aircraft's detection system was powerful, it could only detect a range of 5 million miles. It was impossible to know the situation of the two of them. What's your situation? I have 10 experts here who are heading toward you, Brother Long. Chen Hao quickly sent a message. I only have 5 people following me. They have just released their aura and are chasing me with all their might. However, they are not fast enough. I have no problem. Brother Hao, why don't you go toward my brother? I'm afraid my brother can't handle more than 10 Earth Celestial Stage experts. Long Ting received Chen Hao's message and said directly, I will meet up with you quickly. 10 people coming to me? Long Yi frowned. Although he was known as the invincible Earth Celestial, he was still a human celestial. His speed was only comparable to the other Earth Celestial Stage cultivators who were chasing him. It was impossible for him to shake them off. After all, the gap between them was a whole stage. It was already quite amazing that he could have such speed. Chapter 586. Brother Chen, it seems like I can't meet up with you. I'll go to the right. You inform my sister to change direction and escape to the left. You go forward, or I'll be in trouble if I'm intercepted. Long Yi messaged Chen Hao. Okay. At this moment, Chen Hao could feel that even Long Ting was no longer as careless as before. It was obvious that the other party had given up on him to deal with Long Yi, which had disrupted their plans. Most importantly, it had put Long Yi in a dangerous situation. 15 cultivators at the peak of the later stage of the Earth Celestial Stage. Even if they were not geniuses, Long Yi could not compete with them. However, Chen Hao, who was sitting in the aircraft, looked calm as usual. Although their actions were unexpected, in Chen Hao's opinion, it was impossible for them to threaten him. Phew. It seems like we have to expose ourselves. Let's meet up with Long Yi first. Increase the detection range to the maximum. Turn left and fly at full speed. Start. Yes, master. Boom. The miniature aircraft, which was hidden, suddenly shot out a violent airflow at Chen Hao's command. Swish. The streamer flew across the sky and its speed increased to a terrifying level. Then, it disappeared into the sky. What's that? What's that? The 10 cultivators who had changed their direction to kill Long Yi turned around in surprise when they sensed the horrifying fluctuation coming from their original direction. Immediately, a disc-shaped object, which was emitting a bright light, chased after them at lightning speed. Its speed was absolutely beyond their imagination. No. It's that guy's supreme-grade spiritual treasure. How could it be so fast? Boom, boom, boom. The 10 Earth Celestial Stage cultivators were shocked. They suddenly flew up and gathered their strength to the peak, trying to stop the miniature aircraft that was flying toward them. They knew very well that if they let the miniature aircraft pass them and meet up with Long Yi, they would have no hope of killing Long Yi. At the same time, the leader of the 10 cultivators also sent a message to the mysterious young man. Still want to run? After she finished communicating with Chen Hao, Long Ting also changed her direction slightly. She turned to her left and increased her speed to the maximum. Although the 5 aces at the peak of the later stage of the Earth Celestial Stage had done their best, the distance between them and Long Ting was still increasing gradually. If this continued, they would inevitably be left behind by Long Ting. Relying on her powerful physical strength and boundless true essence, Long Ting was not the slightest bit worried that she would be caught, let alone surrounded. However, at this moment, a voice suddenly came from afar. Before she could finish her sentence, Long Ting could clearly feel that the distance between her and the person who spoke was rapidly shrinking. The peak of the later stage of the human celestial stage? What a terrifying speed! This power! Long Ting's beautiful face became serious for the first time. At the same time, she felt a great threat. It was more horrible than being surrounded by 5 aces at the peak of the Earth's celestial stage. This was because she felt an intense sense of danger from the other party's aura. Almost instantly, she knew that this person was the mastermind hiding behind the scenes. The young man, who was approaching Long Ting at high speed, also received a message from the third group at this moment. This made him frown slightly. The order had been issued to kill Long Yi. Why did they send a message in such a short time? After all, they were about 10 million miles away from Long Yi. A group of idiots. That guy must have discovered their movement and exposed his aura to save Long Yi. What's there to report? The mysterious young man thought quickly, but he still crushed the communication charm. What? A giant magic weapon? 10 times the speed? Or even more? Block it. At all costs. If you fail, you know the consequences. The young man sent a message directly. Boom. At this moment, he, who was already astonishingly fast, suddenly increased his speed again. Like a bolt of lightning, he rushed madly toward Long Ting. Long Ting, who was already shocked, suddenly exclaimed, "Fast, the young man's speed is too fast. Even if I use a power that doesn't belong to me, I'm afraid I can't match his speed at most." But, in the aircraft, she had used it because of Chen Hao. Until now, she had not recovered and could not use it at all. Who the hell is this guy? He's only at the peak of the later stage of the human celestial stage. When did such a terrifying genius appear on the Asianing planet? Why is he targeting me? I can't escape. Let's fight. At this moment, Long Ting gritted her teeth and suddenly stopped moving forward. At the same time, she crushed a communication charm. "Brother Hao, after you meet up with my brother, you don't have to worry about me. I've shaken them off. After completing the mission, I'll look for you. Tell my brother." This was the message Long Ting sent to Chen Hao. She did not say that she was in danger because she knew very well that this guy with a terrifying aura was not a match for her even when she was able to use her powerful strength, let alone now. What did that mean? It meant that Chen Hao and Long Yi were simply courting death by coming here. Moreover, the smart Long Ting also concluded that the other party's main target was her. This wasn't because Long Ting had already fallen into despair to the point of thinking of sacrificing herself to help Chen Hao and her older brother, and it was instead because even if she was captured and heavily injured by them, she didn't think that they would be able to kill her. So long as she was willing, then even an expert at the heavenly immortal realm could dream of killing her. However, that was her last resort. Now she would fight first. If she could not fight and was caught, then she would endure it first. As long as she could delay for a few days, she would have enough strength to deal a heavy blow to them. Why did this girl suddenly change her mind? In the aircraft, Chen Hao was slightly puzzled when he received the message from Long Ting. Then, his eyes shone with a cold light. There's definitely a problem. With this girl's personality, how could she go and play by herself? Do the mission by herself? She'll look for us after completing the mission? Although Chen Hao had only been with Long Ting for a short time, he knew that Long Ting was not the kind of person who could endure even the slightest bit of loneliness. Regardless of whether it was to others or not, at least with him around, Long Ting could maintain communication with him from 10 million miles away. This was already the limit. This was because they had to find Tantai Lien and obtain the opportunity to complete the mission. Otherwise, this girl would definitely be with him or Long Yi. This was a person who could continuously ask questions to an emotionless artificial intelligence for several hours. "Sister Ting, I want the truth from you." Chen Hao directly crushed a communication talisman. She doesn't even have time to reply? Seeing that the 10 cultivators were getting closer and closer, but Long Ting still did not reply, Chen Hao frowned deeply. She said this because she doesn't want Long Yi and me to go over. She must have met someone who she thinks is going to die if we go over. The situation is more dangerous than Long Yi. Then I'll expose myself. Originally, Chen Hao did not intend to expose himself too much. He planned to use his speed to go around and pick up Long Yi first. However, the current situation clearly did not allow him to do that. Activate the attack system and lock on to the target. Kill. Yes, Master. Boom, 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 boom. Black balls whizzed out and streaked across the sky. There were no deafening explosions, nor were there any terrifying energy waves. In fact, the moment these black balls appeared, whether it was the aircraft, the void, or the cultivators who were rushing over, there seemed to be a momentary silence, as though time had stopped. This was because from the moment the black balls were shot out to the moment they neared the 10 cultivators, there seemed to be no time interval. The speed was too fast. They were only a few hundred miles away, but they were still thinking, what the hell is this? It's fast, but it only contains so little energy and it wants to attack us? Each and every one of them disdainfully released their energy, wanting to blast away this attack that they didn't care about at all. 4 of them even directly condensed their energy into their fists, wanting to punch the shockingly fast black ball and explode it. Boom, boom, boom. Indeed, they did it. They blew up the black balls with one punch. However, after the explosion, what appeared was their miserable, mournful, and incredulous screams. Of course, even their screams were insignificant under the terrifying sound of the explosion. One by one, their flesh and blood were scattered by the explosion. In just one round of attack, 10 cultivators at the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage were all seriously injured. 4 of them had their fists blown up. Their faces and bodies were covered with blood. They could not open their eyes or hear anything. The only thing worth rejoicing over was that they were all wearing protective armors. Furthermore, due to the toughness of their physical bodies, the exposed parts of their bodies were not blasted into smithereens. To be more precise, they were only heavily injured physically. Other than that, they were not seriously injured. As long as they had elixirs, they could recover in a short time. Without elixirs, they could also recover quickly with their cultivation stages. However, before they came to their senses from the shock, the continuous sound of explosions came out from the aircraft again. It was too late. Firstly, the distance was getting closer and closer. Secondly, the speed of the cannonballs fired by the aircraft was too fast. In addition, they were seriously injured by the first attack. The only thing they could do at this moment was to increase their strength to the peak and activate their protective dipper chi. They also used their true core strength to block the attack from afar. However, it was a pity that all of this was in vain. Speed was the only thing that could not be broken. Moreover, the time Chen Hao set for the attack and the explosion of the bomb was completely calculated according to the target's position, distance, and speed. In other words, it would not explode when it encountered obstacles in the middle. It would only explode when it hit the target. In the blink of an eye, miserable cries came out from the mouths of the 10 people. Even if a single pellet was unable to break through their protective armor, the frequency of the attacks was too dense. These fellows, if they made one wrong step, then every step would be wrong. There was no longer any possibility of dodging. Moreover, their injuries were getting more and more serious. Chapter 587. Boom, boom, boom. In less than 2 minutes, the bodies of the 10 cultivators exploded one after another and turned into dust. Without the support of their own energy, not to mention the power of the explosion, even the natural high temperature of the fiery star would burn their broken body pieces into nothingness. Along with horrified screams, the 10 primordial spirits fled at a terrifying speed. At this moment, if Chen Hao wanted to destroy their primordial spirits, he had to use his true core strength to do it. But he didn't have time. The reason why he didn't hesitate to expose the attack power of the aircraft was to reduce the pressure on Long Yi. Long Ting's situation was more dangerous than Long Yi's. He had to save Long Ting first. In this way, at least the 10 primordial spirits who had lost their bodies would be no threat to Long Yi. With Long Yi's title of Invincible Celestial, there were only 5 people chasing him. Chen Hao believed that Long Yi was basically out of danger. At least he could deal with them for a long time. Brother Long, Sister Ting is in danger. Her situation is much worse than yours. I have to go and help her first. Go straight to Sister Ting. You only have 5 enemies chasing you. I've already dealt with the 10 here. Their physical bodies have been destroyed by me, and only their primordial spirits are left. They can't stop you. Chen Hao controlled the aircraft and turned it into a beam of light. He flew at top speed toward the location where Long Ting had sent the last message. Long Yi, who was flying at full speed, was shocked by Chen Hao's news. How long had it been since he'd discovered that someone was following him? It was a long story, but in fact, it had only been a few minutes. However, Chen Hao said that he'd killed the 10 cultivators at the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage. Although only their bodies had been destroyed, this was too shocking. Long Yi felt that he knew Chen Hao very well. However, at this moment, he couldn't imagine how Chen Hao had done it. As for Chen Hao's words that Long Ting was in a more dangerous situation than him, Long Yi wasn't worried. In his opinion, it was because Chen Hao didn't know about his sister's hidden strength. Long Ting's strength was only at the peak of the Earth's celestial stage. How could she be in danger? All right, I'll be there as soon as possible. Brother Chen, you don't have to worry about my sister. Her strength isn't as simple as you think. You saw it when she fought you in the second world. She's strong, right? But that's not the limit of her strength. At this time, Long Yi heaved a sigh of relief and directly sent a message to Chen Hao. At the same time, he adjusted the direction of his flight. Sister Ting used a super strong power that didn't belong to her in the aircraft. She told me that every time she used it, it would take some time for her to recover. Now, she obviously hasn't recovered yet. All right, Brother Long, we're about to exceed the distance limit of the communication talisman. You can just hurry over. When Chen Hao sent the message, he sensed that the distance between him and Long Yi was increasing rapidly. It was about to exceed the range of the communication talisman. Therefore, he reminded Long Yi in case the two of them lost contact and made him worry. Who are you? Why are you attacking me? While Chen Hao was trampling on the 10 Earth celestial stage experts, Long Ting, who knew that she couldn't escape from the pursuit of her opponent, had stopped in the void about 10 million miles away from him. She stood proudly in the void, and she had already activated her bright and dazzling supreme-grade spiritual treasure soft armor. She held a supreme-grade spiritual treasure sword that exuded an ancient aura in her hand. She looked at the mysterious young man who was already 100 miles away from her and asked coldly. The mysterious young man's eyes glowed as he stared at the graceful, sexy, and valiant figure of Long Ting. A rare smear of blood actually appeared on his incomparably pale face as he said, "You don't need to know who I am. You only need to know that you will soon be my woman. That's enough." How dare you? Long Ting was shocked and said angrily. She stayed fearlessly because she was confident that she could save her life temporarily. But she didn't think of that. Long Ting was furious when she heard what the mysterious young man said. At the same time, she felt a strong sense of uneasiness. She hated herself even more for not teasing Chen Hao earlier. Why did she have to tease Chen Hao right before the danger arrived? Originally, even if it was dangerous, she had absolute confidence that she could make the other party suffer. But now, she was in real danger. She could save her life and was not afraid of any serious injuries to her body, but she was afraid of her body's purity. That was the only weakness in her body. No matter how strong her body was, she couldn't turn herself into a woman made of stone. Is there anything in this world that I don't dare to do? The number 1 beauty in Xiantian City, the number 1 demoness. Now, I'll show you whether I dare to do it or not. Following the mysterious young man's arrogant words, a golden rune floated out from between his eyebrows. In an instant, it emitted thousands of rays of golden light and forced the fire-attributed energy within a few hundred miles to disperse wildly. The pressure was like the mountains and the sea, and the unfathomable terrifying energy undulations made the mysterious young man who was holding the rune seem to have turned into a god at this moment. But how can you possibly have your other half? She was already prepared to fight to the death. If she had no other choice, even if she had to sacrifice her precious body which she had spent her family's blood, sweat, and blood, she would never allow a strange man to take away her most precious primordial yin and chastity. Even if she would be reduced to mediocrity from now on and would never be able to regain her former glory, She still had to do it. This was her persistence, her principle, her bottom line. Although this kind of persistence, principle, and bottom line, in the cruel cultivation world where martial arts were respected, where one's fists spoke, and where one pursued the pinnacle of martial arts, was laughable to most women, after all, if it were an ordinary woman, who would give up such an insignificant chastity for a body as heaven-defying as hers, where even a strand of her hair could be considered a supreme-grade spiritual treasure and where it was impossible to cultivate a body. Again, once it was lost? As long as she could preserve her life and her body, she would definitely have the strength to shock the entire vast universe galaxy and become one of the top powerhouses of the human race in the vast universe galaxy. In the face of such a glorious future, what was chastity? How much was it for a caddy? As long as Long Ting roared, countless beautiful women would cry and shout to exchange their chastity for her body, but Long Ting was different. Born in the cultivation world, she had received billions of super geniuses at a young age and had a great opportunity that was hard to come by in her lifetime. She had become the person that her family wanted to nurture at all costs. It could be said that she was more valued by her family than Long Yi, who was more talented than Long Ting. Although there were only a few people in their family and in their generation, there was only her and Long. No matter what, they would be valued by their family, but no family would be willing to use more than half of their wealth to nurture a junior, right? At the same time, because Long Ting had received a great opportunity when she was in her mother's womb, and because of the family's nurturing method, Long Ting did not have anything that a cultivator should have, such as hard work, bitter cultivation, or training in life and death situations. All she had to do every day was take a bath, eat natural spirit fruits and spirit herbs, and sleep. Other than that, she did not have to deliberately cultivate, because taking a bath was cultivating, eating was cultivating, and sleeping was cultivating. Taking a bath to temper her body, eating to temper her true yuan, sleeping to communicate with the great opportunity in her body, tempering her state of mind and soul, and comprehending the mysteries of secret techniques. This was definitely the most comfortable, leisure, and pleasant way of cultivation in the world, and it was also a powerful and abnormal way of cultivation. Because of this, she was more humane than anyone else. Her character and her soul did not have the courage, obsession, or madness of most cultivators who gave up everything in order to reach the peak of martial arts. But at this moment, Long Ting was really shocked. When the mysterious young man at the human celestial stage revealed his horrible aura and speed, she knew this mysterious young man, like her, definitely had a power that did not belong to him. Otherwise, there was no reason for him to be so powerful. She had guessed correctly, but she did not expect this young man to have the other half of her power. It was not the rune itself, but the material of the rune, and the aura contained in the rune that was completely exposed at this moment. Ha! Are you surprised? My appearance, my presence, and this thing being suppressed by a rune I forcefully condensed. You should be able to guess that I was only born after I was born. You were born with it, so you can't even begin to imagine what kind of pain I have to endure every single day of the month. Fortunately, my pain is rewarded, because although this power does not belong to me, it can be completely controlled by me. The only regret is that I can't reach the height that you can reach in the future, and I will have to bear this kind of pain for the rest of my life, which is worse than death. Do you know what is the only solution? That is you. Ha! Humph, show me your power. Let me see how powerful you are when you have it at the congenital stage. All of you, attack her. The mysterious young man stared at Long Ting and waved his hand at the 5 aces at the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage, who had surrounded her. He did not know Long Ting could not use that kind of power at this moment. When he saw Long Ting stop, he also did not think Long Ting was prepared to be severely injured, captured, or trapped. In his opinion, Long Ting just stopped to reveal her real power and fight with him. Moreover, he knew that once Long Ting used her power, it would definitely be more powerful than his congenital stage. But he also knew that he would be the final winner. Because he knew with Long Ting's current stage, she could not maintain that kind of power for more than a few minutes. More importantly, he had 5 aces at the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage as cannon fodder, who could force Long Ting not to use that kind of power. Chapter 588. Boom 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 boom. Chi 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 chi. The 5 men of sacrifice didn't hesitate at all as they simultaneously launched their powerful attacks and closed in on Long Ting at the same time. At this moment, Long Ting's peerlessly beautiful face flickered with a wisp of unprecedented resolution and coldness. She had never encountered such a predicament since she was young, and she had never been forced to do something like this. Then she would kill a few to break even. Having made her decision, she suddenly crushed a communication talisman. The faces of her great-grandfather, great-grandmother, grandfather, grandmother, father, mother, brother, and other relatives appeared in her mind. They doted on her and doted on her to the bone. Tianzhen and a few other good friends appeared in her mind. In the end, she stopped at Chen Hao, whom she had just met but felt like old friends at first sight. Or perhaps it could be said that she fell in love with him at first sight, and now her life, which had just become interesting, was about to be lost. Abandoning her physical body, and her only hope of escaping was her primordial spirit, which was destined to reduce her to mediocrity. She didn't know if all these feelings would still exist. She didn't know if Chen Hao, who clearly had a strong desire for her but was forcefully restraining himself, would still affectionately call her little sister Ting, like the first time they met, but she knew that she, her brother, and Chen Hao would be reduced to people on a completely different level. So what if they still treated her well? Being reduced to mediocrity was no different from falling from heaven to hell. She, who had never experienced a setback, didn't have the courage to bear it, and didn't have the courage to face such a cruel reality. So, it was better to die. It was a clean death. Chen Hao, please tell my brother that the person who killed me has the same great opportunity as me. He has the other half. Also, remember to ask my brother to take you to find my mother. Ask her to help you get rid of the residual medicinal effects in your body. The main thing is to force out my blood essence. I'm sorry. You and my brother must not come over. The power of the person who killed me is not any weaker than when I used a power that doesn't belong to me. Furthermore, he can control himself to use it at any time. Leave this place as fast as you can. This might be her last message. She changed the way she addressed him to Chen Hao instead of Brother Hao, when she deliberately teased and seduced Chen Hao. She also tried to keep her voice as calm as possible. She also did not explain what the residual medicine and her essence blood meant to Chen Hao. She had already decided to die. Why should she let Chen Hao know that she had decided to make Chen Hao her Taoist partner and that her teasing, seducing, and drugging were all for the good of Chen Hao? There was no need for that. It would only add to her sadness. In a rush, Long Ting directly poured her thoughts into the communication rune and crushed it. She did not have time to sense the location information contained in the rune. After all, she had received the message from Chen Hao, asking her to tell the truth. But she did not have time to reply to it. At that time, she was still 10 million miles away. Of course, she did not think Chen Hao could get close to her from 10 million miles away. Moreover, she had told Chen Hao to let them run away and leave her alone. They had no choice. Once they entered the fiery star, they had to get enough blazing fire crystal marrow to activate the token, tear open the void, and enter the chaotic space. Otherwise, it would only take a few minutes to travel this distance through the chaotic space. Boom, boom, boom. Long Ting brandished her sword to meet the attack. Her powerful physical strength and true core strength were activated to the extreme. At this moment, although she could not use the strongest power that didn't belong to her, her strength could not be defeated by several ordinary men of sacrifice at the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage. Her purpose was very simple. She wanted to kill as many people as possible before the blazing fire crystal marrow exploded her. Buzzing noises continuously appeared in Long Ting's mind, but she had no time to care about them. She didn't have the time to care about them, and she didn't want to care about them. Of course, she knew her words had made Chen Hao anxious. She also knew the urgent messages were sent by Chen Hao. But she had said what she wanted to say. Her only hope was that Chen Hao and Long Yi would not come here on impulse. Hurry up! Hurry up! In the aircraft, Chen Hao could no longer keep calm when he received the message from Long Ting, or rather, her last words. He began to feel anxious. He was not afraid of the powerhouse Long Ting had mentioned. He was afraid that Long Ting could not hold on until he arrived. He also regretted that he had underestimated the enemy at the beginning. Otherwise, he could at least buy some time. Thousands of miles away, it would take him more than 10 minutes. Long Ting, who was in danger, could be in an irreversible situation at any moment, let alone 10 minutes. Chen Hao sent a message to Long Ting. He told her directly that he had the ability to kill the enemy and that he could arrive in 10 minutes. He asked her not to give up no matter what and to hold on until he arrived. However, he did not receive any reply from Long Ting after sending out 10 communication charms. If he had not been able to sense Long Ting's location through the communication charms, Chen Hao would have thought that something had happened to Long Ting. Master, the aircraft has reached its maximum speed. If you increase it any further, it will exceed the load and damage the aircraft, the intelligent brain system warned. Do it unconditionally and at all costs. Hurry up. Yes, master. Boom. The aircraft, which had already reached its maximum speed, suddenly soared again. Under the high temperature of the planet of flames, it was like a burning flame. The defensive runes on the aircraft were emitting brilliant light. But even so, the beep 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 sirens were still ringing in their ears. The parts of the aircraft began to suffer more and more serious damage under the extreme speed. Condense. Buzz. At this moment, Chen Hao suddenly took action. Vigorous, vast, and pure spiritual core turned into streaks of light and poured into the aircraft. Old God, burn the spiritual spring at all costs. Repair the damage. Damage, repair, increase in speed, damage, repair, and increase in speed crazily. The aircraft's speed was getting faster and faster, as if it was going to break free from the space constraints of the planet of flames. Wherever it passed, a terrifying space storm would sweep over. Finally, at this moment, the aircraft seemed to be bound by an invisible force and could not increase its speed at all. Buzz. Chen Hao would send out a communication charm every half a minute. He did not expect Long Ting to reply. His purpose was to check if he could still locate Long Ting. As long as she could, it meant that Long Ting was still fine. Boom, boom, boom. The mysterious young man, who was flying arrogantly, looked down at Long Ting, who was besieged by 5 people. The more he looked at her, the more excited he became. For many years, he thought he knew Long Ting's real strength very well. However, he did not expect Long Ting, who had not used that kind of power, could still exceed his imagination. He had thought the 5 aces at the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage could force Long Ting to use that kind of power in a short time. However, it seemed the 5 of them still needed a little more time to force Long Ting to use that kind of power. This little bit of time was nothing to him. He was not in a hurry. Instead, he became more and more excited. The reason was simple. The more powerful Long Ting's physique and true core strength were, the more benefits he would get after obtaining Long Ting's vital yin. Similarly, the effect of dual cultivation with Long Ting would be better. He sensed the red divine pill floating in his mind. It was the divine pill that his master had refined specifically for him to conquer Long Ting. The young man's excited smile became more intense. He had never thought about Long Ting's death. The other half of the great opportunity was obtained by Long Ting when she was in her mother's womb. It could not be removed. The only thing he could do was to get Long Ting. Not only would he get her vital yin for the first time, but she would also become his cultivation companion in the future. Otherwise, as his cultivation stage improved, the pain he would have to endure every month would become more and more horrible. One day, it would exceed his limit and destroy him. His master had started to plan this when he had obtained the great opportunity and entered his soul palace. Today, it was finally time for him to soar into the sky. She can't hold on for more than 5 minutes. Sensing Long Ting's aura, the young man was quite relaxed. Why is there no news from those guys? At this moment, 3 minutes had passed since the 10 people who were tracking Chen Hao had sent him a message about a giant magic weapon with amazing speed. No matter whether they had intercepted it or not, they should have reported it to him. However, he had not received any news until now. Buzz. The mysterious young man took the initiative to crush the communication rune. What made the mysterious young man frown was that when he had crushed the rune to send the message, he had not sensed any information from the matching rune. Could it be that it has exceeded the distance limit of the communication rune? It should be. Those good-for-nothings probably can't stop that unidentified kid. A giant superb spirit treasure with amazing speed must be a small flying machine. To be able to refine such a flying machine, it must be a refining master who has surpassed the Daluo Golden Wonderland. The young man was in the mood to think carefully. In the entire vast universe galaxy, large flying machines that could shuttle through chaotic space for a long time were strictly controlled. Even if you had money, you might not be able to buy one. As for small flying machines, although their defense and speed could not be compared to those flying machines that could shuttle through chaotic space, their numbers were even rarer. Even with this young man's status, he could not obtain one. The reason was simple. The smaller the size, the more difficult it was to condense a complete set of runes on it. For example, a flying machine on the level of the Silver Wing could be refined by a refining master in the Daluo Golden Wonderland. However, a small flying machine like Chen Hao's could only be refined by a refining master who had surpassed the Daluo Golden Wonderland. Even Chen Hao's flying machine, whose defense and speed were much worse than the Silver Wings, was no exception. That kid must be a direct disciple of a master in the Grand Mist Supremacy realm of the 36 main planets of the vast universe galaxy. Phew. It's a pity that I can't have my cake and eat it too. I hope I can still meet him after I deal with Long Ting. Chapter 589. That guy must be the pro-disciple of a master from the Grand Mist Supremacy realm in the 36 main planets of the vast universe galaxy. Phew. What a pity. I can't have my cake and eat it too. I hope I can meet him again after I've dealt with Long Ting. The mysterious young man was not afraid of Chen Hao's identity and background. He also had a powerful background. What was there to be afraid of? Moreover, they were in the territory of the Asian Ing planet. It was also the mission point of the Asian Ing Planet Alliance. Not to mention Chen Hao's identity, even if Chen Hao had a stronger identity, he wouldn't be afraid. Because today was the day he would soar into the sky. After completing this mission, it would be the moment when he would shock the entire vast universe galaxy. Of course, Long Ting's name would also appear at the same time. However, from then on, Long Ting would be his subordinate and no one would find out. Rumble. Long Ting's gorgeous and resplendent spirit artifact armor had long lost its original splendor under the violent and fierce attacks of the 5 opponents. It was clearly on the verge of collapse. However, Long Ting was not afraid at all. Every move she made was an open attack. Not a single one of her moves was for defense. She allowed her opponent's attacks to land on her body. Among all the young geniuses on the Asian Ing planet, only Long Ting dared to fight in such a crazy way. Finally, the first master at the Earth's celestial stage took the initiative after Long Ting withstood 4 violent attacks. He broke through the man's defense with his sword and stabbed it between his eyebrows. With a blood-curdling scream, the man died. However, at the moment of his death, the man of sacrifice detonated his soul and body, releasing his most powerful self-explosion attack. The horrible explosion made Long Ting spit out a mouthful of blood essence and fly hundreds of miles away. Swish! The moment Long Ting's armor shattered, strands of resplendent light rose up from her body once again. A new set of supreme quality soul treasure armor, which seemed to be exactly the same as the original one, condensed once again. The young man did not look at the man of sacrifice who had been destroyed. Instead, he fixed his eyes on Long Ting and said, "I didn't expect you to have triggered the second transformation. Very good. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. Explode." The mysterious youth's forehead suddenly bloomed with 4 mysterious light fluctuations. These light fluctuations didn't have any power, nor did they have any Jin Yuan fluctuations. They were just 4 mysterious runes condensed from thoughts that directly fused into the foreheads of the remaining 4 death warriors. Roar! In an instant, the 4 of them seemed to have gone mad. Their originally clear eyes flashed with a wisp of shock and fear, and then the focus suddenly disappeared, turning into blood-red eyes. His essence, chi, spirit, and true essence began to burn fiercely as the 4 roared like ancient beasts. When she saw this scene, a wisp of a resolute expression flickered in Long Ting's eyes, and she suddenly let out a clear and melodious howl while the aura around her rose madly. Hiss hiss hiss. The 3,000 strands of hair shone with resplendent light, dancing and fluttering under the terrifying pressure and energy. The moment the terrifying aura was released, Long Ting suddenly retreated. At the same time, she waved the sword in her hand again and again. Terrifying sword lights crazily condensed in front of her, as if to protect her. What? When he saw this scene, the mysterious young man suddenly exclaimed in surprise. Detonating her physical body and primordial spirit? Long Ting wanted to detonate her physical body and primordial spirit? How was this possible? If Long Ting really detonated her physical body, the years of waiting, the years of scheming, and the years of suffering that he had endured would all be destroyed in an instant. No, absolutely not. Boom. In an instant, the young man shot toward Long Ting like a cannonball. At the same time, he activated his mind, and the 4 cultivators who had already burned their physical body and true essence immediately retreated and forcibly stopped the burning. Although the young man did not understand why Long Ting did not activate the terrifying power that did not belong to her, but chose to detonate her physical body, he knew that he could not waste even a second. Similarly, he could not let the 4 Earth Immortals detonate their physical body to attack Long Ting. The only thing he could do was to stop Long Ting. At this moment, the young man activated his strongest power and violently attacked. The golden rune directly transformed into a huge net that spanned hundreds of miles and enveloped Long Ting. At the same time, his whole body shot out like a cannonball, disregarding the price and injuries he had to pay, brazenly affecting Long Ting's sword net to prevent him from getting closer. Break, break, break. Rumble, seal. Long Ting let out a scream that was filled with fear, despair, and unwillingness. Buzz. It's still there. Hurry, hurry, hurry. In the void, the aircraft that seemed to have transcended the constraints of space was moving forward at an astonishing speed under the full power of Chen Hao. In just 5 minutes, more than half of the time had passed. 3 more minutes, at most 3 minutes, and he would be able to reach Long Ting. Hope was growing. However, Chen Hao was also getting more and more nervous. Long Ting's message had clearly stated that the strength of the opponent was on par with Long Ting's when she used a power that did not belong to her. How terrifying would that be? Let alone 3 minutes, even a difference of 1 second could lead to an unforeseen event. Therefore, Chen Hao did not dare to relax for even a moment. Master, I've detected a life aura. There's Long Ting. There are 5 other auras. All right, lock on. Charge. Chen Hao wanted to lock on to the target at this time and simulate the scene to see what kind of situation Long Ting was in. However, he knew that if he did that, it would undoubtedly affect the speed of the aircraft. Therefore, instead of wasting time to check, it was better to approach at full speed. After all, only by appearing beside Long Ting could he be of help. Master, the aura of the other 4 has increased by 10 times and is rushing toward Long Ting. What? Beep. Master, Long Ting's aura is increasing rapidly. Master, the other person's aura has increased by 100 times. Master, the 4 people rushing toward Long Ting are far away. Master, the other person's aura has enveloped Long Ting. Due to interference, Long Ting's aura has weakened. Long Ting's aura has disappeared. The continuous voice of the artificial intelligence did not contain any human emotions. It was just a mechanical and rapid report of the information it had detected. However, Chen Hao was extremely nervous as he listened to the report. His brain was operating at an amazing speed. Through the report of the artificial intelligence, he analyzed and judged the situation Long Ting was in. The four have increased by 10 times. Long Ting has begun to increase her aura. The other person has increased by 100 times. The four have retreated. Being disturbed. Aura disappears. Seal. It's definitely a seal. Phew. At this moment, Chen Hao directly crushed the communication charm. He let out a long sigh of relief and said, "Lock on to the most powerful person among them." "Yes, master." The artificial intelligence's report, coupled with the fact that the communication charm had no response, made Chen Hao sure that the other party had sealed Long Ting. At the same time, this also solved the doubts in Chen Hao's heart. According to Long Ting, the other party was powerful and had the help of 5 aces at the Earth's celestial stage. They could definitely kill Long Ting in a short time. However, it had been 6 minutes since he had set off. He had been able to sense Long Ting's position through the communication charm, although Long Ting had not replied. There is no doubt that the other party doesn't want to kill Long Ting. Very good, this is very good. Chen Hao's eyes shone with 2 rays of fierce light. Although Chen Hao still had a lot of misgivings towards Long Ting, and there were also many reasons for him to temporarily retreat, it had to be said that the familiarity he felt at first sight with Long Ting and the romantic experience Long Ting had deliberately created during this period of time had already left a deep imprint in the depths of Chen Hao's heart. Moreover, it was so deep that it was a little terrifying, because Chen Hao was very confused about how he had fallen so deeply. It should be known that he already had Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, Xia Yu, Tantai Lian, and the beautiful sisters of the Lung family. In the face of other beautiful women, he was absolutely calm. He didn't think that he would fall in love with a beautiful woman when he saw one. Even the shock and familiarity of seeing Long Ting for the first time couldn't move him. Even when Long Yi seemed to want to set him up with Long Ting and let the two of them pretend to be Dao companions, he was also not moved. In the aircraft, a man and a woman were alone in an independent space for a month. Long Ting intentionally or unintentionally seduced, teased, and drugged. This kind of despicable method that Chen Hao had always disdained made Chen Hao clearly feel that Long Ting's figure was imprinted in his heart. What made Chen Hao even more depressed was that he now had a strong desire for Long Ting. As long as Long Ting had any kind of verbal or physical teasing, it would make his cock move. In front of her, it seemed that he thought that he was quite awesome, and in fact he was really awesome, but his willpower became very weak. This kind of situation, even Chen Shui and the other women didn't have this feeling. However, now, in the last message that Long Ting sent, Chen Hao vaguely guessed that it might be related to Long Ting's drugging. Slow down. Hide. Simulate the scene or sound. When they were 100,000 miles away, Chen Hao gave the order. Ha! No wonder you would rather self-destruct than use that power. It turns out that you can't do it now. The heavens are really helping me. Ha! The mysterious young man looked at Long Ting, who was shrouded in the golden light of the runes, and said excitedly and proudly. Even he didn't expect to be able to take down Long Ting so easily. When Long Ting was about to self-destruct, he also thought that Long Ting might have done it on purpose to lure him into a fight. Once he made his move, he might have to face Long Ting's strongest power. However, he had no choice but to jump into Long Ting's trap. There was no other way. He couldn't afford to gamble. It was also because of this that when he stopped Long Ting, he directly raised the power of the golden runes to the limit and was also prepared to heavily injure Long Ting. However, in the end, he sealed Long Ting so easily. How could he not be excited? Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 590. What a powerful seal. This guy is talking to Long Ting, but I can't detect anything unusual? Could it be? In the aircraft, the mysterious young man and his surroundings were simulated. Chen Hao could clearly hear what the young man was saying. But other than the mysterious young man and the 4 aces at the Earth's celestial stage, The detection system couldn't detect anything unusual. Back then, when I had Long Ting use her strongest power to seal me, other than the extremely terrifying aura at the beginning, I didn't feel any aura after that. However, I was completely sealed, and I didn't even have the chance to grasp the mysteries of the sealing formation. Of course, the most important thing was that Chen Hao didn't think about breaking the seal. Otherwise, what was done couldn't be undone. "Who the hell are you?" Long Ting, who couldn't move, was full of despair. She thought she could end this once and for all by detonating herself. Unfortunately, she underestimated her importance to this shameless guy, and she also underestimated his calmness and decisiveness. If she had been 1 second later, she would have been able to escape successfully. But now, Puma. Of course, I'm your cultivation partner. From now on, I'll bring you around the world, and we'll be a celestial couple that everyone envies. Haha. Dream on. Dream on? Haha. Look at what this is. Swish. The red pill in the mysterious young man's mind suddenly floated between him and Long Ting. Holy level pill. Yin-yang nirvana pill? Long Ting widened her eyes in horror. Then her face turned pale, and her delicate body trembled. Endless fear, unwillingness, humiliation. All kinds of negative emotions filled her heart. How could he not know about this pill? How could he not know the effect of this pill? Regret, 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 regret that when she sensed the young man's aura, she didn't detonate herself immediately. Unfortunately, she didn't know it would end like this. Hate this scheming, insidious villain in front of her. Haha. Holy level yin-yang nirvana pill. With this pill, even if I'm dreaming, my dreams will come true. This pill was refined with my blood essence. As long as you eat it, from now on, your body, your heart, and your everything will be mine. Haha. You'll die a horrible death. Long Ting's voice trembled, full of hatred. Thanks for the reminder. I dared to defy the heavens and accept this great opportunity in my Hotian state. I dare to defy the heavens again and control you. At the very least, I won't have to endure any more pain until I reach the level of the Supreme of Hongmeng. Moreover, I believe that I will definitely be able to obtain an even greater opportunity to defy the heavens and break through everything. The mysterious youth's pale face blossomed with absolute pride. What do you mean? Hiss. An imperceptible breeze quietly drifted to the edge of where the mysterious teenager and Long Ting were. Chen Hao, who had blended into everything in the world, approached the mysterious young man not long after he took out the pill. Thanks to the aircraft's concealment mode and the high speed of inertia, the mysterious young man approached him. Then he directly blended into the world and stepped out of the aircraft. Of course, at this moment he truly saw Long Ting, who was sealed and imprisoned like him, unable to move at all. However, Long Ting's expression of despair, fear, and hatred after seeing the pill, as well as the conversation between the youth and Long Ting, left Chen Hao confused. The reason was simple. Chen Hao did not know what the red pill with its pure aura and terrifying energy was for. His first thought was that it was an aphrodisiac like the legendary yin-yang fusion powder. He definitely could not let Long Ting take this thing. Back then, he was still brooding over the matter between him and Tan Tai Lien. Whether it was him or Tan Tai Lien, they had completed their first time without feeling anything. He did not want to be the hero saving the damsel in distress, but the damsel in distress still took an aphrodisiac and he had to go into battle himself to save her. Even if he was sober, he could not do it. This was the principle that Chen Hao had to adhere to. A person could be lustful and flirtatious, but he could never be obscene. He could have a few Taoist partners, but he could never use any of them as a tool to vent his desires. After all, the other party already had a complete heart in exchange for a part of his heart. What else could he want? Even a man like himself cared about his first time. What more a woman who wanted to give herself to him completely? Even though Chen Hao knew that there were still many obstacles between him and Long Ting, and they were far from being in love and sharing life and death together, he could not let Long Ting throw away her first time in confusion. After all, if the two of them really got together in the future, this matter would definitely become a matter of great regret that Long Ting could not salvage. However, the conversation between the mysterious youth and Long Ting clearly told Chen Hao that this pill was not as simple as he thought. At this moment, Chen Hao did not immediately make a move. Instead, he was waiting for an opportunity. This was because this youth was surrounded by a terrifying aura at this moment, as if it was resonating with the golden runes that sealed and imprisoned Long Ting. This aura was not in the realm of matter at all. Chen Hao wanted to rely on his state of being one with all things in the world to get close, but it was impossible for him to pass through this aura silently. On the other hand, if it was a head-on battle, even though Chen Hao wasn't afraid, he wasn't confident in his ability to kill the youth, and he might even be heavily injured. This wasn't what Chen Hao wanted. Not to mention there were 4 experts at the peak of the earthly immortal stage that were glaring fiercely at the side. There's nothing for all of you to do here. All of you go help them kill Long. If you can't complete the mission, then don't come back to see me. Yes, young master. The 4 of them instantly transformed into flowing lights when they received the order, and they estimated the direction and swiftly left. Condense. This. The mysterious youth formed seals with his hand and pointed at Long Ting. At the same time, the golden runes that floated above Long Ting suddenly released a light screen that enveloped the surroundings in a hemispherical shape, and it seemed to have condensed into a tent that was like a yurt. If he was outside at this moment, he would surely be unable to sense or see the youth and Long Ting. At this moment, Chen Hao's mind was concentrated to the extreme. If there was the slightest abnormality, then he would have to make a move, even though now was still not the best time to make a move, but fortunately, when the light screen enveloped Chen Hao as well, the mysterious youth obviously didn't notice anything unusual. Of course, this was also because he utterly didn't expect that someone had already arrived by his side. Otherwise, when he utilized the profound aura of the golden runes so long as it touched Chen Hao a little, then Chen Hao would have no choice but to show himself, You hate me very much? It's useless, you'll soon fall head over heels in love with me. I really want to know what the so-called genius youth of Dark Heaven City will think when they find out that you've already become my woman. I'm afraid they would never have imagined that the #1 beauty of Dark Heaven City, the #1 she-devil, would actually be obtained by me, who has the least chance, right? Long Ting was angered to the point her face went livid, but she was unable to say anything and was powerless to resist the tragedy that was about to befall her. What could she do? Begging for death was the true portrayal of her current situation. Long Ting shut her mouth tightly and closed her eyes. She didn't dare imagine what she would become in the future. Didn't you want to know who I am? I can tell you now, and I'll tell you before you see the real you. It'll also allow you to understand how you refused a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Suddenly, the mysterious youth's body flickered with numerous resplendent lights, and then his figure, aura, and even that pale face suddenly changed, revealing his true appearance. It's you? It's actually you, this shameless villain. Long Ting stared with extremely shocked eyes. Shameless villain? Shameless villain. In your eyes, I'm actually a shameless villain. This way, it proves that I'm right. I originally thought that when you saw me, you would be shocked to the point of regret, should be at a loss, and should have a slight fluctuation in your emotions. 30 years of time, an entire 30 years of time. I've used every method to curry favor with you, to obtain your favor, but in your eyes, I'm actually only a shameless villain. I should have come to my senses long ago. 30 years, you've rejected me time and time again, and even beat me into a pig's head that even I don't recognize, and humiliated me to the extreme. Have you ever considered my dignity? But I never gave up, and I endured. No matter how angry I was, I endured. I believed that relying on my talent, my appearance, my identity, the position I was destined to have in the future, and my persistence to give up my dignity for you, I would surely be able to move you. At that time, we would be a true immortal couple. But I was wrong. A total of 999 times, and one more time would be 10,000 times. I should thank that super genius. If it wasn't for his appearance, perhaps I would still be able to persist for a period of time. At least, Before he appeared, you've never shown the slightest interest in anyone who pursued you. But you treat him completely differently. This is something I absolutely won't allow. I don't understand, my persistence for 30 years, why can't I move you? How is that kid stronger than me? Shameless. You think you're worthy of being compared to him? In 30 years, 999 times, how many times have I left my home? Nearly every time I was coincidentally bumped into you. How could I not know about your despicable actions? Every time I beat you up, your eyes would inadvertently reveal a sinister look. How could I not feel it? Most importantly, you're far too patient. I never understood why you could endure me. If it were for my long family, it wouldn't be worth it for you to endure time and time again, but now I finally understand. Do you regret it? I regret not killing you. Humph, you think you can kill me? Don't be stubborn, it's too late for regrets. Everything I do today is to make you my puppet. If nothing unexpected happens, your big brother will also die here. As for that genius disciple from another star in vast universe star system, that will depend on his luck. Although this is against the will of the heavens, I can rely on you to truly control your long family. In front of others, you are my Tao companion, but behind the scenes, I will treat you as a slave. Of course, you will definitely be my most beloved female slave. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 591. I really want to see what the #1 beauty of Shentian City would look like in front of my pot. Let me eat it. The yin-yang nirvana pill that was like a flame instantly floated towards Long Ting. At the same time, Long Ting's tightly shut lips were opened by an invisible force. No matter how Long Ting struggled, her body completely refused to listen to her. Tears of humiliation and pain flowed out from her unwilling eyes. She knew that everything was over. The youth that had revealed his true appearance laughed without restraint. His eyes were filled with excitement, and a perverted glow. The resentment that had accumulated for 30 years was completely vented, causing him to really enjoy Long Ting's expression at this moment. Therefore, the speed of the yin-yang nirvana pill became slower and slower. He was very clear that once Long Ting consumed this pill, even though he could ravage her at will, it would be impossible for him to feel such pleasure again. Because at that time, Long Ting could no longer be considered the real Long Ting. She would only be obedient to him, and she wouldn't even have the rage that a slave should have. Long Ting closed her eyes. Didn't grandfather say that she was blessed with great fortune and unparalleled karmic luck? Didn't he say that she would definitely become the future pillar of the Long family? Why would her final fate be like this? This was even more unbearable than death. But after this moment, she would completely lose herself in front of this shameless villain. Hiss. Bang. Chi. Who is it? You're courting death. Rumble. Suddenly, without the slightest sign, the yin-yang nirvana pill that was about to enter Long Ting's mouth suddenly disappeared like a cool breeze blowing past. Immediately, with a bang, a powerful, vast and majestic aura suddenly erupted. At practically the same time, a wave of destructive sword intent that shot into the sky suddenly appeared. In an instant, sword glows that were swift and fierce to the extreme erupted one after another. Long Ting suddenly opened her eyes. She only saw the back of a figure wearing a soft armor that was covered in complicated runes and emitted a boundless, profound aura. The aura of this soft armor was absolutely a true saint artifact. At this moment, the shameless person's shocked and furious shout sounded out. Then, a terrifying explosion sounded out. The shock in the shameless youth's heart at this moment was simply indescribable. No matter what, he'd never imagined that someone had actually silently snuck into the seal and restriction he'd condensed and actually didn't notice it. Moreover, he'd never imagined that this person would actually take away the yin-yang rebirth pill that his master had spent countless top-rate spirit herbs and countless painstaking efforts to condense for him at the instant he was about to succeed. Similarly, he'd never imagined that in just an instant he would be heavily injured by this person's extremely terrifying sword light of destruction. Danger. It made his hair stand on end as he fell into a life-and-death situation. When he saw the other person's face clearly, he was even more shocked. He did not expect that, no matter what, he would not expect that it would be someone that he had only recently found out about, had never seen in person, and had never had any interaction with. However, he might have an interaction with him in the future. Chen Hao. Yes, it was Chen Hao. He recognized at a glance that the person in front of him was Chen Hao. Because of his terrifying results in the preliminary test, his name had shaken the entire vast universe galaxy and caused countless top forces to extend an olive branch to him. He was also a little envious of Chen Hao, but he firmly believed that he could surpass him. He couldn't figure out why Chen Hao would appear here, and he couldn't figure out why Chen Hao would directly kill him. Moreover, he didn't have much time to think about it. Without any mental preparation, under Chen Hao's continuous and violent attacks, no matter how strong he was, he still felt a huge threat of death. Adash! Take it away! Boom! As a last resort, the shameless youth directly activated the golden rune. In an instant, the yurt-like light shield disappeared, and the power that imprisoned and sealed Long Ting disappeared. There was no other way. The golden rune was his greatest reliance. At this moment, most of its power was used to seal and imprison Long Ting. In the face of a life and death crisis, he had to make the most appropriate choice in the shortest time possible. Otherwise, he would die. Between his own death and imprisoning Long Ting, he naturally knew better than anyone else which was more important. Therefore, he could only take back the golden rune and increase his strength to the peak. Only in this way could he resist Chen Hao's attack. Only in this way could he use the rune to increase his strength, take down Chen Hao, take back the Yin-Yang Nirvana elixir, and then deal with Long Ting. Let's go! Long Ting widened her eyes in shock, thinking that this was an illusion. Chen Hao suddenly grabbed her hand, and accompanied by a powerful force, the two of them turned into a stream of light and fled quickly. Want to run? Get down here! Boom! After the shameless youth took back the golden rune, his strength instantly soared by dozens of times. He chased after Chen Hao and Long Ting like a cannonball. His speed was definitely several times faster than Chen Hao and Long Ting. At the same time, he grabbed at the air, and a large hand that contained boundless power covered Chen Hao and Long Ting. Don't worry about me. Boom. Long Ting, who had regained her freedom, felt the terrifying power behind her. She knew that with their speed, they couldn't escape no matter what. She also knew that the two of them were no match for the other party even if they joined forces. However, at this moment, she was excited because the Yin-Yang Nirvana elixir was taken by Chen Hao. Because at this moment, she once again had the opportunity to burn herself. Idiot! You go in first. Swoosh. What Long Ting didn't expect was that just as the sky-covering hand was about to hit them, and the other party was less than 1,000 feet away and was about to catch up to them, she was pushed forcefully by Chen Hao, and the surrounding scene suddenly disappeared. Boom. Chi. Long Ting didn't feel anything, but a terrifying explosion came from the outside world. Under the automatic control of the artificial intelligence system, the aircraft, which had concealed its aura and had been quietly waiting for a long time, shot out an extremely violent energy and soared into the sky. At the same time, dense and terrifying bombs were like locusts that rained down on the guy who was chasing them. It's so powerful? Chen Hao was slightly shocked. He was shocked by the terrifying lethality of the other party's attack. He was even more surprised by the terrifying strength and powerful physique that the other party had displayed in the dense cannonballs. A moment ago, when Chen Hao attacked the 10 aces at the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage, he had destroyed their physiques effortlessly. None of them had survived. Now, in the face of the dense cannonballs, the other party had withstood them head-on. He broke through the cannonballs fearlessly and rushed over. Come here. The mysterious young man's expression became extremely crazy. When he saw the small, round aircraft, he finally figured out why Chen Hao, who he had never met before, had appeared here and why he had helped Long Ting. He wanted to chase after Long Ting, who had entered the aircraft. However, the aircraft's instantaneous speed made him stop. He could only roar angrily because he was unwilling to accept the fact that all his efforts had been in vain. Die. I want you to die. Unable to catch up with the aircraft, the mysterious young man suddenly looked at Chen Hao, who was standing proudly in the air, and shouted crazily. His aura soared at a terrifying speed because of his anger. At this moment, Chen Hao's eyes shone with unprecedented seriousness and excitement. His fighting spirit, a crazy fighting spirit, began to rise from his body. Long Ting, hello. Long Ting looked at this narrow space in surprise. Yes, it was narrow, because Long Ting could tell from the aura of this space and the huge screen in front of her that she had entered an aircraft. Moreover, it was an extremely rare and precious small aircraft. She was surprised that Chen Hao had such a precious aircraft. She was even more surprised by the scene on the screen. He could have come in with her. Why did he stay? Could it be that he was confident that he could defeat a shameless guy with powerful strength? At this moment, a familiar voice rang in Long Ting's ears. It was the voice of the artificial intelligence system, which she had communicated with continuously for several hours. Are you Xiaoji number 1? Long Ting stared at the screen and asked in surprise. Yes. However, I am now in charge of the miniature aircraft, Huaxia number 1. Master ordered me to assist you to complete the mission of killing the enemy. At the same time, I will support Long Yi. We will set off immediately. Wait, where's Chen Hao? What about him? This is Master's order. You and I must carry it out unconditionally. Please believe in Master's ability. Beep beep beep. Target locked, 134,000 miles away, for people. I will destroy their physical bodies. Long Ting, you are responsible for killing the primordial spirits. Long Ting wanted to say something, but the simulated scene in front of her made her exclaim. She could not believe what she saw. The 4 cultivators who were besieging her just now appeared in front of her as if they were real and were flying at high speed. However, this kind of high speed was nothing in front of the flying ability of the aircraft. The attack system is ready. Long Ting, please prepare to kill the primordial spirits. The primordial spirits are faster. You must take them down in one fell swoop. Okay. Long Ting forced herself to wake up from the shock. Her beautiful eyes suddenly bloomed with strong killing intent. Boom. Chen Hao swung his sword to meet this attack. His essence, energy, spirit, true essence, body, and will of the sword Dao were all pushed to the limit at this moment. This was the moment he would truly test himself, and it would also be his strongest battle to date. The second world was the second world after all. It could be used as a training ground, but it was far from enough to be used as a training ground for life and death situations. Just like how no matter how much effort you put into acting, it could not be real. The resurrection in the second world was the biggest advantage, but also the biggest disadvantage. Similarly, the equipment and weapons in the second world were unified. Basically, it was fair to all cultivators. However, it was also because of this fairness that it lacked the cruelty of reality. Just like how this young man had the heaven-defying rune. How many times could it increase his combat power? If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 592. Go to hell. The mysterious young man blasted out with his palm. The golden palm that blotted out the sky was like the Buddha's palm, containing boundless profoundness and pressure. The boundless power was terrifying to the extreme, and as it rapidly approached Chen Hao, it became smaller and smaller, more and more condensed. At this moment, it was even more powerful than when Long Ting used the power that didn't belong to her to seal Chen Hao. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Rumble, Chen Hao swung out thousands of swords in an instant, and the extremely condensed brilliant sword light violently bombarded his opponent's shocking palm. At the same time, his figure seemed to be stepping on a winding path, twisting and turning as he retreated explosively, and the armor on his body also released a bright and mysterious protective light. Even so, Chen Hao found it difficult to deal with his opponent's absolute power and the mystery that was completely beyond his cultivation stage. The only feeling he had was that his opponent was strong. His opponent's absolute power was definitely more than 10 times his own. However, this kind of enormous pressure that came from absolute power, whether it was the enormous pressure that his physical body or mind had to endure, caused every cell in Chen Hao's body to boil. I haven't had this feeling for a long time. This is great. This guy's physical strength is not worse than mine, but his true core strength is much weaker than mine. Otherwise, he could have completely suppressed me with the power of the powerful golden runes. Now it's just right. Chen Hao retreated in a zigzag manner, deflecting the force, blocking it, deflecting the force again, blocking it again. He retreated a full 100 miles before he was able to completely neutralize the opponent's furious attack. At the same time, Chen Hao realized that his opponent's strength was about the same as his estimation. It was at the edge of his limit. Of course, this was because Chen Hao had used his divine soft armor. This divine soft armor was the one that he got by accident after destroying the aircraft of the demonic ant star in the chaotic space. It was refined by the North Dark Silkworm. It was a pity that Chen Hao, who was only at the human celestial stage, couldn't even give play to 1% of its defensive power. This was different from the Silver Wing spaceship. The Silver Wing spaceship had its own energy system and could be activated as long as one understood the runes. However, the soft armor did not. Even if one understood the runes, one's own energy realm had to be high enough to unleash its power. Any Saint artifact level magic treasure required the soul and quintessential essence of a heavenly immortal to be able to unleash its true might. The fact that Chen Hao was able to successfully refine it and activate a bit of the Guardian formation was already quite impressive. It was just like back then when the mysterious youth, Long Ting, and the others all thought that Chen Hao had a saint-level concealment Dharma treasure. What surprised them the most was not the Dharma treasure itself, but that Chen Hao could activate it. It was also for this reason that in the cultivation world, ordinary human celestial stage and earth celestial stage powerhouses did not possess divine artifacts. Firstly, sacred tools were precious. 99% of cultivators could not afford them. Secondly, sacred tools were rarely sold. Even in auctions, it was extremely rare and could only be found by chance. The reason was extremely simple. Just like some rare and precious natural treasures and veins of the heavens and the earth, if one could use it, who would sell it? Truly good things were destined to have a price but no market. Thirdly, human celestial stage and earth celestial stage cultivators were unable to refine and activate it. Even if they had it, they would not be able to use it at all. Moreover, they would have to worry about it being robbed. However, if they could activate it, even though they were unable to unleash its true power, a saint artifact was still a saint artifact. No matter what, it was still much more powerful than a supreme-grade spirit treasure. Of course, this was not talking about its power, but its inherent defensive power. For example, the supreme-grade spirit treasure soft armor activated by Long Ting was absolutely stronger than the saint artifact soft armor activated by Chen Hao. However, her soft armor would be quickly destroyed by her opponent. What about Chen Hao's saint artifact soft armor? When it exceeded a certain level of power, Chen Hao would only be able to withstand it completely. The saint artifact soft armor itself could not be destroyed by an earth celestial stage powerhouse. You can actually block my attack and not be injured? The mysterious youth had thought that his furious attack would definitely be able to severely injure or even kill Chen Hao. No matter what, he would be able to quickly take back the yin-yang nirvana elixir. Even if Chen Hao's body and soul were destroyed by his attack, the yin-yang nirvana elixir, which was a saint-grade elixir, would not collapse. However, what he didn't expect was that Chen Hao, who was clearly more than 10 times weaker than him in terms of absolute strength, would actually use such a strange method and continuous attacks to break through his attack that he was almost certain would succeed. This caused the mysterious youth to frown slightly and ponder. He gathered his power again but did not directly attack. Humph! Chen Hao, you are indeed a genius who has shaken the entire vast universe galaxy. However, since you have ruined my plan today, I will kill you no matter where you are in this world. Don't think that because many top forces have extended an olive branch to you, no one dares to touch you. As long as I am willing, not only you, but also the entire Wuji star, as long as I say the word, I can destroy it. Do you believe me? Ah, you know me? How arrogant. Do you think that the restrictive laws of the vast universe galaxy do not exist? Chen Hao was slightly surprised, but his expression was cold and arrogant as he stared at the youth and sneered. Restrictive laws? You probably don't know who I am, do you? Oh? Could it be that you are the master of the Yang Star, the grandson of a supreme master in Hongmeng? Chen Hao said with a bloodthirsty tone. The energy around him was also gathering crazily. Based on the conversation between Long Ting and this mysterious guy, Chen Hao already knew that this guy's identity was not simple. Unfortunately, Long Ting did not call out this guy's name at that time. However, in Chen Hao's opinion, this guy's background was at least not inferior to the Long family's, or even stronger. Otherwise, this guy would not have told Long Ting that she did not dare to kill him. It was also because of this that Chen Hao, who was a good person to the end, stayed. Since he had done it, he had to do it cleanly and kill without mercy, so as to avoid unnecessary trouble. Similarly, Chen Hao also wanted to have a real fight to test his progress. There was no doubt that this mysterious youth was the best target. And now, hearing that this young man actually knew him and even used the Wuji star to threaten him, Chen Hao was even more determined to kill him. That's not it, the mysterious youth said bluntly after hearing Chen Hao's words. Then why are you so arrogant? You can't kill me, and you have no chance to touch the Wuji star. Is that so? Although I am not the grandson of the master of the Yang star, I am his only disciple, Guanu. Another identity is that I am the only heir of the Gua family, the head of the 5 major families of the Yang star. You said I can't touch it? Pa. Guanu stared arrogantly at Chen Hao and laughed arrogantly. Now I'll give you a chance. Return the Yin-Yang Nirvana elixir, give me your aircraft, and the sacred soft armor on your body, and I will forgive you for getting in my way this time. Of course, you must also send Long Ting to me. Otherwise, I will let you know that being a genius is useless. Amazing. Really amazing. The only heir of the Gua family, the head of the 5 major families, and the only disciple of the Supreme Master of Hongmeng. Damn, he is really awesome. Chen Hao frowned slightly, feeling very shocked. Although he had guessed that this guy was awesome, he had not expected him to be so awesome. With 2 identities, he could do whatever he wanted on the Yang star. As for the restriction law of the vast universe galaxy that Chen Hao had just mentioned, it was purely nonsense. Even Chen Hao himself did not believe it. It was just to restrict people with no background, no identity, no status, and no strength. My patience is limited, and I don't have time for you to think about it. If you agree, you and the Wuji star will be fine. If you don't, you will die. A wise man submits to circumstances. I believe that you should know what to choose. When Guanu saw Chen Hao frowning and pondering, he was sure that Chen Hao was afraid. Therefore, he threatened him calmly and confidently, and there was an imperceptible chill in the depths of his eyes. Do I have a choice? Chen Hao spread his hands and said helplessly. You are smart. Why don't you give it to me? Besides, I don't need to teach you what to do, do I? Contact Long Ting immediately. I believe that you have a way to get her back, right? Guanu said with a victorious smile on his face. This was just a stopgap measure that he was afraid that Chen Hao would go all out and cause him to lose everything. After all, if he spoke too harshly at this moment, Chen Hao would definitely go all out. With his strength, although he was confident that he could kill Chen Hao and get the Yin-Yang Nirvana elixir and the divine soft armor on Chen Hao, it was impossible for him to catch up with Long Ting in the aircraft. This was the most important thing to him. If he missed this opportunity, his chances in the future would be slim. After all, Long Ting already knew his purpose. How could she give him another chance? However, after dealing with Long Ting, it would be time for him to kill Chen Hao. He was already very unhappy that there was such a genius on the Yang star that he was jealous of. Moreover, Chen Hao must be hiding a great secret. Not to mention other things, the small aircraft alone could not be explained. The divine soft armor could still be provided to Chen Hao on the barren Wuji star. However, it was difficult for someone of his status to get a small aircraft, let alone on the Wuji star. Where did Chen Hao come from? Moreover, since Chen Hao had the divine soft armor, a small aircraft, and a divine magic weapon with concealment properties, how could he not have other precious things? If Guan Yu did not have such a powerful inheritance as the Golden Rune, he, the personal disciple of the Supreme Master of Hongmeng and the only heir of the Guo family, would not even have a magic weapon as good as a genius disciple from the Wuji star. Here you go. Swish. What? You are courting death. To Guan Yu's surprise, Chen Hao, who was frowning and pondering as if he was afraid of him, did not give him the yin-yang nirvana elixir. Instead, he attacked him directly. What made him even angrier was that Chen Hao rushed at him violently and arrogantly. How dare he fight him in close quarters when there was such a huge gap between their strength? Boom! Guan Yu, who felt that his dignity had been seriously challenged, violently attacked. At this moment he no longer attacked from a distance. Instead, he directly condensed his terrifying power into his body. Like a cannonball, he rushed at Chen Hao. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.